Hi guys, I'll be starting shortly. Can you do me a favor? Can you give me a quick check? Oops. Oh, sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure that the sound was working properly. You know I'm a boomer about the tech. So I guess it's sounding all right. Let me just get settled in here. Give me just a second and I'll be right with you and I'll be starting. Okay, here we are. We're about to get started, and so why don't you do me a favor, chat, if you would be so kind. If my audio sounds good, why don't you hit me with a number one? If my audio is too low, hit me with a two. If my audio sounds good to you, hit me with a one. If it's too low, hit me with a two. I'll wait for you guys to catch up. Oh, great. So everybody's it sounds good. Good. I'm super glad. Fantastic. A little bit low there, Michael. Okay, let me turn it up a little bit. Um, how's there? Am I sounding any better? Hit three if I sound better, and hit four if I sound worse. Three if I sound better, and four if I sound worse. Perfect. Sounds like, perfect. Great. Three if I sound better and four if I sound worse. Okay, we're on then. Okay, first of all, just so that you know, the stream, forget about the image because I'm really not going to be doing anything with the image. Okay, it's going to be just that holding screen there. So this is really going to be an audio stream because, to tell you the truth, I suck at OBS, and it's just too much to handle. I have handwritten notes in front of me, so I'm just going to read or work with my handwritten notes as opposed to doing like video and crap like that. So just forget about images. Okay. That's number one. Number two, I want to thank all of you. You guys are my Patreon supporters and subscribers, and I thank you so much for the support you've been giving me. It's just really humbling, because you guys are giving me your hard-earned money, and I hope that I've been giving you good value. Okay, I'm not going to ask. I'm not going to be so crazy as to ask you right here now, but I do hope that I'm giving you good money, good value for your money, because I think that that's the ultimate test of whether some work is good. If you feel happy that you're paying for it, or you feel that the money that you're paying is well worth it, that's the most important thing for me. So I want to get that just make that really clear to you before anything. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, and now the third thing, starting properly with coronavirus. Okay, um, there's a saying. I have no idea who came up with it, but it's been around since forever. It's the saying, "God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference." God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Okay, now this is very important. I posted on my channel, a little update a few days ago, rehashing that fatalism video, right? The fatalism video, which I recorded back in late January when I first got wind of the whole coronavirus thing, and I realized how serious this shit was, because it really is serious, and we are obviously seeing it. Now, before I get into the nitty-gritty, you have to understand something, that this coronavirus pandemic, our society is going to be radically transformed by it. Whatever you think of your life today, of society today, of whatever is going on today, in a year's time, things are going to be completely different, okay? Because this is affecting the economy in a catastrophic way. As I will explain, it is not actually the cause of anything, it's more rather the trigger of a whole bunch of things that have been going on beneath the surface that nobody was talking about. The coronavirus didn't cause it, it just triggered it, okay? Like a gunshot can trigger an avalanche. To say that the gunshot caused it, no, it just triggered it. The avalanche, that was just the buildup of all that snow. And it was that gunshot that, with the echo, made that snow slide down and wipe out the village. You see what I'm saying? But the gun didn't cause it, the snow caused it. The coronavirus didn't cause the economic collapse that we are going to be seeing into the next year and into the next decade. Decades, maybe. That's how serious this shit is, and I'm going to go and explain why. Okay? Okay. So, this is a world historical event, and you have to understand, first of all, like I said in that saying, you have to understand those things that you can change and those things that you cannot change. That's the most important thing. If you start worrying about things that you cannot change, you're just going to go down a rabbit hole. You have to face the things that you can change and have the wisdom to figure out which is which. Have the wisdom, develop the wisdom, the strength of character to recognize that this here I can change, but this over here I cannot. Okay? That's fatalism, but it's more. It's fatalism plus, if you want to call it something. It's being wise, quite frankly. Because what's going on is that, see, a lot of people are running around like headless chicken. You know, I mean, if any of you have grown up on a farm or have spent time on a farm, you know that, when you slaughter a chicken, you cut off its head. And sometimes you cut off a chicken's head and the body of the chicken will get away from you and run around. And it will run around without a head, and it'll run around for a goddamn long time. It's kind of surprising. That's how people are running around, with all these people like going out and buying toilet paper. Toilet paper, for crying out loud. 50, 100 rolls and freaking out and getting into fist fights over toilet paper, which is absurd. But that is a symptom of panic. Panic is not knowing the difference between the things that you can control and the things that you cannot. And so a panicked person fixates on those things that are trivial and loses sight of those things that are important. Okay? That's the thing you have to understand. Panic is the opposite of serenity. Panic is the opposite of courage, because panic is just running around impulsively. Your fear dictating your actions. And what do I always tell you guys? In every video that I do on Patreon and insofar as the regular channel, everything, I always say that the difference between men and everybody else is that we can control our emotions and use our reason, our logic, our acquired knowledge, and our experience to dictate our actions in the short, medium, and long term. That's what makes a man. Because every other animal on this earth and most other people, they allow their emotions to dictate their actions. Those people who are at the Costco getting into a fist fight over a roll of toilet paper, those people have surrendered their masculinity to their fear. They have surrendered they're just animals. They're responding to a fear. It doesn't matter that they can talk and that they can reason and they can use a computer and whatnot. They are acting like animals. Animals, what do animals do? They react impulsively. They react to emotions. They don't think things through. At least, animals have the excuse that they don't have the IQ points to think things through. People don't have that excuse. But so many people are acting that way. Don't be that way. Understand that this is happening. Coronavirus is happening, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. It's going to burn through the world. By the way, before we get started, or as we go, why don't you get a piece of paper and a pen, because I'm going to tell you to write a few things down because I want you to follow along what I've been thinking, okay? Now, the first thing that we have to think here is, what can you do against the coronavirus? What can you do in a practical sense? And the answer is very simple. Nothing. It is going to burn through the world. Now, some of you might have heard of the expression R naught. R naught is it's the letter R with a subscript 0, okay? And it's pronounced R naught because of British pronunciation. But R naught is the transmissibility of a disease. Basically, the R naught figure is how many people will catch a disease from one person, okay? And the thing is, see, insofar as coronavirus is concerned, it is guesstimates, okay? Not estimates like they know for sure, but like guessing, sort of like. It's anywhere between 3.5 and 10. In a practical sense, everybody's going to catch this. Everybody's going to catch this. So it's going to burn through the whole world. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, that 30% of the world's population will not get it, or they'll get it and their immune system will obliterate it, okay, which seems to be the case. There are some people who seem to have been exposed to it, and their natural immunity from who knows how it happened just burns through it and just kills the disease dead instantly, okay? So let's say 30% of the population will not get it in a practical sense. They might, catch it, but their immune system will just decimate it like the first second, right? Okay, so 30% don't catch it. Now, that leaves 70% who will. Of that 70%, let's do some math, okay? Break out your phone and break out your calculator. I'm going to be doing it right here as we're talking. Wait, 1, 2, 3. I'm opening my thing, and I'm getting to my other thing. I have so many things. Oh, yes. Okay. Okay, so the world population. How much is the world population? 7.7 billion at this time. 7,700,000,000. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay? That's a lot of zeros. Now, suppose that it is going to be 70% infectability, that it's going to hit 70% of the world's population at one form or another. Either they will catch it and it will be mild, like a regular flu, and it'll pass in a few days, or it'll go all the way to just, killing you, okay? 7.7 billion times 0.7, that is 70%, right? That's 5,390,000,000. These numbers I know are huge, but there's a reason that I want you to write them all out so that you can see them, see how big they are, okay? Now, this number, 5,390,000,000, that's the expected, at this time, that's the expected exposure worldwide. That 5.4 billion people are going to catch this. Catch this to a degree that it will be noticeable. Because remember, I said before, 30% will probably just be immune to it, or it just won't take with them, for whatever reason. There's a lot of this stuff that scientists, very capable, still don't understand, okay? Yeah, recognize that. Science, insofar as this is concerned, a lot of the times it's guesswork, and that is very unsatisfying, but we have to live with it. We have to live with uncertainty, okay? Now, 5.4 billion are going to catch this, 80% of whom they're going to catch it and they will recover. 20% of whom will catch it and it will become severe enough that they need medical attention. That seems to be the rule of thumb at this time, that approximately 20% of the people catch it and they need to go see a doctor. So what's 20% of 5.39 billion people? 5.39 billion people times 0.2. That is 1 billion people. 1,078,000,000 people. That's the figure of people who will need to be hospitalized. Now, what does that tell you instantly when you look at that figure? It tells you instantly that this is impossible, that there is no way, there aren't enough hospital beds. So the calculations that I'm telling you, these back of the envelope calculations, this is exactly what the more sophisticated epidemiologists told the leaders of the governments in the Western democracies, that this thing is going to burn through the world and it is going to be a pandemic. You're going to have 1 billion people who need hospitalization. There aren't enough beds, quite simply as that. Okay, that's why everybody has freaked out over the last week. Okay, now specifically, Imperial College London, they had a very capable virology team that issued a report, and basically they said this. You could argue the numbers here and there, but it's basically this, that it's going to be a pandemic. And so what has to happen is that we have to, as they say, flatten the curve. Now, what does this mean? See, the virologists don't want everybody to get sick at the same time, because if they get sick all at the same time, the health system will collapse and more people will die who could have been saved, okay? Because a lot of this 20% who are going to need medical attention, right? Some of them are going to be liminal cases that like they're in that gray area between living and dying, okay? A lot of the people are going to be definitely in that black zone of dying. They're just going to be too old. For instance, to give a specific example, a specific hypothetical example. I don't know anybody with this case, although I've heard a couple of cases. But suppose somebody has lung cancer. They had it before this coronavirus stuff. They had lung cancer and they had a lung removed and they've been on chemotherapy and they're in treatment and whatnot. If they catch coronavirus, the odds are astronomically high that this poor person will die. And this is a tragedy. And I don't mean any kind of disrespect, but that's the way things are. They will die. A lot of people will die. The elderly, and to tell you the truth, and this might sound very cruel, but hear me out first. It is a blessing that this thing seems to affect older people. It is a tragedy that these older people will pass away. But it is a blessing because in 1918, the Spanish flu, which killed millions of people, 500 million people were infected, and approximately 50 million people died. I believe those are the numbers. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it affected predominantly people between the ages of 18 and 25, which is a disaster. Because you don't want, the flower of your civilization, the young, healthy people who will have babies and grow a society, a civilization. You don't want them to be affected. Tragic though it is, if an elderly person dies because of this, a person in their 60s or their 70s or even in their 50s, it is a tragedy, no doubt, but it is less socially harmful in the long run than what happened during the Spanish influenza. So let us be thankful for that this seems to affect older people at this time. That's what it seems to, okay? Anyway, going back to the numbers that we were discussing. The epidemiologists did the calculations that I've explained. They arrived at a number similar to what I'm telling you, and they realized that there was no way that 1 billion people could be hospitalized. There's simply just not enough beds or hospitals or people to care for them even, okay? So the idea became we have to flatten the curve. Now, what does that mean? It means that you have to quarantine everybody, separate them, isolate them, so that the disease has a tougher time passing from one person to the next. So that its R naught that I explained before, rather than be 10, is lowered to say 4. You're not going to get it to below 1, because if you get it below 1, that's when people, no longer are. Whoa! There was a sudden drop off of people. Is everything okay? Guys, when you hit 1, then tell me if everything's okay with the stream. Because here I'm seeing an analytic that it was suddenly like a whole bunch of people dropped out. Hit 1 if everything seems to be okay. I'll wait for you guys to catch up. Okay, so everything seems to, because like on my thing it said all of a sudden that, oh, and now they're back up. Okay, sorry about that interruption. But to go back to this issue of flattening the curve. Sorry, it was some, YouTube is shit. But anyway, the flattening the curve issue. What they want is to lower the R naught number. If it is, some of the estimates, like I said before, they range from 3.5 to 10. Now, a disease that has an R naught of less than 1, that disease will burn itself out. Because R naught of less than 1 means that less than 1 person gets the disease from anyone currently infected. And so what does that tell you? Obviously that the disease will slowly peter out. That's what R naught less than 1 means. But if it's greater than 1, it means that it will grow. It will increase in number. Now, of course, if it's R naught 2, 3, 4, then, forget it. It's just going to burn through the whole world, which is the case with coronavirus. The estimates, the guesstimates, right now are between 3.5 and 10 R naught figure. So the epidemiologists want to lower that number, that each individual person who is infected infects fewer people. It's not that they won't infect others, it's that it'll take longer. What epidemiologists want, and now the political leadership everywhere in the world wants, is for this to be longer, not shorter, not get it over with quicker. They want it to take longer, not 60 days or 90 days. No, they want this to go on for 2 years, maybe even 3 years. Because the longer it goes on, the more people will survive. That's what's going on. The longer this stretches out. Hearing me? Hello? My OBS said that it disconnected. Do you guys hear me? Hello? You guys hear me? Of those 1 billion people, conceivably, 90% of those 1 billion could die. That's 900 million people dead. That would be insane. Because that's the whole point. We're talking about people who need hospitalization. They need actual professional care. Hello? Now there's nothing? Yeah, I'll get to stocks in just a minute. But you guys hearing me? I'll wait for you guys to catch up. 1, if you can hear me. Yeah, I'm so sorry about this. This is certainly not my intention. Okay, good. Okay, so let me continue. So the thing is, they don't want a spike in cases, because if there's a spike in cases of people who need hospitalization, these people who need hospitalization need professional care. Professional care that, by definition, cannot be achieved on your own. You can't get this professional care just sitting around at home with somebody who's taking care of you and bringing you chicken soup. If that were the case, well, they wouldn't need to go to the hospital now, would they? Of course. And so if you have this sudden surge of people who all need hospitalization at the same time, most of them will die because there's just not enough resources at any given time in the Western democracies, right? What is it? It's something like between 2 and 6 hospital beds per 1,000 people. Let me repeat. 2 to 6 hospital beds per 1,000 people. That's how many beds there are. Because of course, at any one given time, there aren't that many people who are sick. Of course they are sick. Of course it's serious. Of course, blah, blah. But the issue is that, see, at any given time in a normal period of time, there aren't that many people who are sick. A number of between 2 and 6 out of 1,000, that's less than 1%. That's 0.2 to 0.6%. That's how many hospital beds there are. But if all of a sudden you have 20% of 70, what's that? What's 20% of 70? That's 14% of the population. 14% of the population who need medical care, who need a hospital bed. That is what? About 60 times more beds than currently exist. You see? You see what's going on? And so that's why they want to flatten the curve. They want to flatten the curve so that over time, there will still be sick people who will need hospitalization, but the number of people will be lower at any one given moment. In other words, this wave of patients, it won't be 1 billion patients in 60 days. It'll be 1 billion patients, hopefully spread out over a year, 2 years, even 3 years. Okay? Now, let's look at some numbers here. Okay? Now, I want you guys to write some stuff down. Okay? Right now, we have 200,000 cases worldwide. That's confirmed cases, right? Now, today is the 18th of March. On the 12th of March, there were half that number. And it's been pretty consistent since the beginning of this thing until the Chinese radically started lying about their figures, which they are. I'll get to that in a moment. But it seems at this time that roughly every 6 days, the number of cases doubles. Okay? So write the following. Write 3/12. Write a horizontal line, a short dash, and then write 100K. 3/12-100K. That means on March 12th, there were 100,000 cases. Cases, mind you. Cases, not deaths. We're not worrying about that. We'll get to the deaths in just a little bit, okay? There were 100,000 cases on the 12th of March, rather. Add 6 days to that and write it right below. Write 3/18-200,000 cases, which is today. That's what we have today. We have 200,000 cases. Now, what's 6 days from March 18th? March 24th. So right below it, March 24th dash, how many is there going to be? 2 times 200,000, that's 400,000. You see what I'm saying? You see where I'm going here? You start writing it down. 3/31, it's going to be 800,000. By April 6th, it's going to be 1.6 million. You're going to say, oh, well, 1.6 million, that's not so bad. Oh, yeah, but on April 12th, it's going to be 1.6 million. Excuse me, 3.2 million. And then after that, it's going to be 6.4 million, then 12.8 million. By the end of April, it'll be 26.6 million. By the end of May, by May 30th, it's going to be 851 million people. You don't believe me? Start doing the math. From April 30th, 6 days after that is May 6th, 53 million. May 12th, 106 million. May 18th, 212 million. May 24th, 425 million. May 30th, 851 million. And then after that, it'll be June 5th, 1,300,000,000. June 11th, 2.6 billion people. June 17th, 5,200,000 people. You see where I'm going here. I wish I could do the graphics, but you know, I'm a boomer, so you're just gonna have to work with yeah. Somebody says that James Sproul said exponential growth is a bitch. Fucking A. Yeah. You guys don't believe me? Check the math. But you say that, oh, it's not every 6 days, it's every 7 days. Fine. Maybe it's every 8 days or every 10 days. It doesn't matter. Eventually, it's going to burn through the whole world. This summer is going to be the coronavirus pandemic. I mean, this is it, okay? And so everybody right now, you say to yourself, well, they only have a couple of hundred or a couple of thousand or however many deaths right now. I mean, it's not that big. Those numbers aren't that big. Yeah, but the thing is, see, they grow so fast, okay? And this virus consistently grows at this pace, doubling every 6 days. And the Chinese, man, they are fucking authoritarians. They are a communist country, an authoritarian, totalitarian regime practically. And they couldn't stop this. Nobody can stop this. This is coming, okay? What did I say at the beginning of this broadcast? I told you, have the serenity to accept the things that you cannot change. This you can't change. It's happening. You got to face it. It's going to happen, and it's going to burn through the whole world. If the numbers are correct, in mid-June, late June, everyone on the face of the earth will have had some sort of exposure to this and either have gotten it or not, and either died from it or not. They are trying to flatten the curve because they want this disease not to hit its peak on June 23rd. That's when it will have hit its peak of getting everybody, okay? Because June 23rd, by the math, by the exponential growth, it will have infected 10.4 billion people. Of course, the Earth does not have 10.4 billion people, okay? So by Mid-June, it should have hit everyone on the globe. And they want to stretch that date, June 17th, they want to stretch it out as much as possible. That's what they want. And it's a reasonable thing that they're trying to do here, okay? It's not crazy. But the thing is, see, it'll have effects on the globe, on our society, our civilization, that are going to resonate for decades, okay? At least a decade, okay? And we're already seeing it, okay? Okay, I've been talking for about half an hour straight. I don't know how to get your questions, okay? Because I don't know, fuck Discord. I mean, everybody says use Discord. I don't know how to use Discord. You know, I'm a boomer. So this is what we'll do. In the what you call it, in the what you call the live chat, okay, put in all caps question colon and then ask me your question and I'll try to get to them, okay? Of course, there are no super chats because that would be mercenary because you're my Patreon supporters. Of course not, okay? But, you know, putting question in block letters with colon and then your question in full. That's the only way I can see that realistically I can like catch any question you guys have, okay? Economy markets, okay? I'm going to get to that in just a moment, okay? Boomer doomer, yeah. Somebody I saw there in the chat said, how do we become rich? The opportunities to get rich already passed. Okay, you should have seen the signs in mid-January, early February at the latest. I saw the signs. Yeah. Real estate markets, we'll get to that in a moment. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the economic thing. What practical advice do you have for us? Okay, that's a fair question. What's a practical advice? What's your opinion on the Chinese numbers? Okay, that's an easy one. They're lying their asses off. They're just fucking liars. Whatever they say, it's a lie. Okay? Don't believe them. The fact that they kicked out the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and some other reporters from China today or yesterday, that's a fucking clue. Yeah, because right now they're doing the shiny, happy people thing that everything is wonderful and nothing hurts and it's all past, it's all in the past, whatnot. You know, they're doing fine. They reported yesterday that they only had 13 infections, blah, blah. That's a lie. That's a lie. And the fact that they kicked out those foreign journalists tells you it's a lie. They wouldn't have kicked them out if it were true. It's a lie. And have you noticed that the Chinese have really fucking locked down on videos that are emerging from China? You don't see any do-it-yourself videos coming out of it. You don't see anybody, you know, with a random cell phone filming shit and it appears on Twitter. Why? They locked that shit down. China caused this. My opinion. Now, this is my opinion. Oh, what stocks? Well, first of all, I cannot tell you what stocks to buy and when should you buy it. I cannot tell them. That would be illegal because I'm not a registered financial advisor, number one. And number two, you'd be a fucking idiot to buy any stock now because this shit is going to keep on going south. And I'm going to explain that in a moment. But let's talk about China then. Okay, China. My thinking is that these guys had an accident at their bioweapons facility because they say that this emerged in the market in Wuhan, the fish market in Wuhan. They claimed that it was like somebody had like bat soup, which is fucking crazy. Okay, I mean, that's fucking insane. It's just absolutely off. I mean, it's just stupid. And the thing that's key is that, see, in Wuhan, less than 10 kilometers away from this famous fish market, there is a level 4 virology laboratory. They had an accident. That's what happened. And that's why they freaked the fuck out, because they knew what kind of a virus was released. They know what it was, okay? And the fact that they're not saying what it is, and they're pretending that it's, you know, the bats did it. If this virus had appeared, say, for the sake of argument, it had appeared in like Upper Mongolia, in Ulaanbaatar, okay? In the middle of fucking nowhere, and appeared there, then I believe it. If they said that, oh yeah, there was this market out in Ulaanbaatar, or like in Bulgaria, or like in, I don't know, you know, like in the middle of the Brazilian jungle, or wherever. I mean, you get my point. If it had appeared in some random place, okay, I'll buy it. Yeah, it was just out of the blue. Ebola, for instance, the Ebola virus, It originated next to the Ebola River. That's why it's called the Ebola virus, right? It appeared spontaneously. Okay, there's fucking nothing there. It's like some African wasteland. Okay, some shithole in the middle of Africa. And all due respect to people from Africa, but it's a shithole in Africa, and it got this fucking disease. Do I think that Ebola is natural? Hell yeah. Hell yeah, it was natural. You know what? You think that there are scientists out there in Ebola and what is West Africa or wherever the fuck, fucking around with this shit? No, there's nothing there. Poor people there who suffered miserable deaths because of the Ebola. I feel nothing but compassion for them. Okay, but my point is, the fact that this disease appeared 10 kilometers from the only top-level virology laboratory in China. A virology laboratory where it was known that they were fucking around with bat viruses and combining it with HIV viruses to see what they could come up with. This is known. They knew it since 2015, okay? The data's out there. You don't have to take my word for it, by the way. You guys are all smart. Google this shit. Go looking for it. You'll find it. And you see, I'm telling you, this shit is real, okay? They did it. I don't think it's an actual bioweapon. I think it was some intermediate stage, some shit that they were developing and it got away from them, okay? And of course, accidents happen all the time, okay? Shit, the Americans have lost a couple of nuclear weapons. Not kidding. They have actually lost a couple of nuclear bombs. You look it up, okay? It happens all the time. Bureaucracies, they fuck up, okay? And people fuck up because we're human, okay? We make mistakes. We make mistakes and we try to cover it up because we don't want to get yelled at. It's human nature. The Chinese fucked it up. And the Chinese, personally, I knew that this was serious, not when they locked down Wuhan. No, I knew it was serious and it was for real when they shut down Foxconn and they shut down the Johnson & Johnson factory in China. That's when I knew it was fucking real. Foxconn, for those of you who don't know, is a very, very big factory. It's actually a company with multiple factories in multiple countries, as a matter of fact, but it's Chinese and they manufacture Apple products. When they shut down Foxconn, which is a huge moneymaker, a huge fucking deal, and they shut down Johnson & Johnson's factory in China, which is, again, a huge deal. Johnson & Johnson is a global company for personal care products, right? Shampoos and shaving creams and whatnot. When they shut down those two companies, that's when I knew that this was real serious. And you want to know how to make money off of this shit. I'll tell you how you could have made money off this shit. You could have gone to an investment bank in like late January or early February and sold short, that is, bought options to sell short, index funds, as well as specific stocks that would be highly sensitive to a collapse in China trade. And you would have bought options that were stretched out to 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days. That's what you would have done. And how would you have done this? You would have talked to an investment bank and you said, I want to sell these and I want to sell them out of the money. How far out of the money? And you tell them 10%, 15%. And they would have laughed at your face and they would have given you a very, very cheap option. Yeah, because it's so far out of the money that you would have been able to haggle and get a really good price. And then you would have made a shit ton of money, a absolute shit ton of money. On Monday, March 16th, you would have made so much money that you probably don't have to do anything again for the rest of your life. And you would have been able to sell off your short positions to the investment banks that you purchased them from, because you would have been smart and you would have been thinking to yourself, these banks might not make good on the 60 and 90 days options. So it's better to sell it to them, even at a bit of a loss, but still make so much money that you don't have to worry about money. That's what you would have done if you had been paying attention. If you'd been paying attention back in late January. If you'd done that, Even if you go on some skiing trip, even if your wife and your kids are yelling at you because you're on the phone with some bankers, even if as they yell at you and say, "Come on, let's go skiing, Daddy, let's go skiing, let's go skiing," and you're like, "No, I have to wait for this call from this guy." Even if you'd broken your fucking ankle, yeah, and even as you're debating whether to operate on your ankle, you're negotiating options with these fucking bankers. Hmm? Yeah, yeah, that's what you would have done. Did you do that? Hmm? You got to see the signs. The signs were there. Okay. So anyway, let's go on with this with China, right? Whatever China is saying, it's a lie. Don't believe it. Nothing they say is true. Mm. Now, forget about China. China is it's a shithole. Don't worry about it. It's not your problem. Okay. What you have to be focused on is what's going on in Italy. Oh, by the way, people ask why did that thing happen in Italy? Okay. Yeah, I'm going to get to savings and the Western economies in just a minute. I just want to tidy up where we're at here. People wonder why there's this this foci rather in northern Italy. Well, it's very simple. See, the Chinese over the last 10, 15, 20 years, they've been buying up Italian luxury goods, leather luxury good companies, artisanal little factories, right? These little factories have, a few dozen people manufacturing high-end leather goods, right? And so the Chinese bought them, fired the Italian workers, and imported Chinese workers, paying them pennies on the dollar, and producing the same goods that they were producing before. But of course, it's made in Italy, but with Chinese workers that they had to pay, that they could pay fractions of what they would pay to the Italian workers. And so the profits of these companies are very high, of course. And of course, all these Chinese people live in northern Italy. In fact, there are 100,000 Chinese in northern Italy. Where do you think they come from? Predominantly, you guessed it, Wuhan. There are direct flights, non-stop flights from the city of Wuhan to the city of Milan, from the city of Wuhan to the city of Torino. Both of those are in northern Italy. Yeah, to service this 100,000 strong Chinese workforce that's in Italy. Yeah, they're the ones who spread it. They brought it from Wuhan. It's simple as that. That's why it's spreading throughout Europe, and well, we know that shit show. So anyway, yeah, I've talked about where this is going. It's going to spread around the world. You got to keep in mind something else. These tests, they keep saying, oh, we have to do these tests, these virology tests, blah, blah. Okay, number one, the tests are extremely expensive. That's something that nobody's saying, okay? Each one of these costs like roughly between $900 and $1,300 a pop. Yeah, they're fucking expensive. And right now, there are no economies of scale. It takes lab equipment and time to process these tests. It's not like, like taking I don't know, it's not like stepping on a scale and you instantly see how heavy you are. No, viruses are microscopic. Well, they're not even microscopic. They're beyond microscopic, okay? You can see a bacteria, but a virus is 100 times smaller than a bacteria. You can't see it on a regular microscope. You need an electron microscope to see it, okay? And anytime you check to see if somebody has this virus in their bloodstream or their mucus or whatever, you're actually not seeing if they have the virus. Rather, you are seeing if there are certain telltale signs that are effects of the virus being in your bloodstream or being in your mucus, okay? This is not an exact science, okay? This is tough stuff. It's hard. And so this issue of like, oh, there are not enough tests and the incompetence of this guy or that guy, that's just stupid. Okay, you got to keep in mind that these tests are, number one, expensive. Number two, because they can't actually see the virus but are looking for telltale signs that the virus is present, a lot of times it'll be a false negative. That'll say, oh, there's no virus, but actually there is a virus. Okay, it's not precise, these tests. Okay, and the tests themselves, apart from being expensive, it's not that there's some factory that can magically produce 1 million of these tests, 1 billion of these tests. No, Okay? So most people are not going to be tested. Most people who get infected are not going to be tested, but they got it. And I'll tell you specifically in my case, okay? I have not gotten tested. I'm not going to bother, okay? I think I do have it. I've been tweeting about it. You can see my Twitter account is at Real Gonzalo Lira, okay? At Real REAL Gonzalo GONZALO Lira LIRA, all one word. At Real Gonzalo Lira. I've been tweeting about it for the last couple of days. So what happened was that this past Monday, which is incredibly ironic or whatever, Monday night, I went to bed and went to sleep no problem. I usually just go to sleep no problem, but I woke up like around 3 in the morning or something like that, sweating like holy cow, like I was in a pool of sweat in my bed, right? No fever, but clearly my body had been feverish during the night. That's why I'd sweat so much, right? And by the way, just so that I had I had covers. I was very comfortable. Okay, and I sweat like a pig, and I felt fine. I was up a little bit for about an hour or so, and then went back to sleep, and I sweat some more. And when I woke up, what was it? Tuesday? Yeah, drenched in sweat. Okay, I mean, the fact is that during the Monday night when I woke up and I was drenched in sweat, I changed my pajamas. Okay. And put on a fresh pair of pajamas. Well, it sounds like pajamas, like just boxer shorts and a t-shirt. I have like a stack of old t-shirts that I use as pajamas, right? And I changed them into fresh ones in the middle of the night, and the next morning they were all wet again, And the same thing happened last night, and I'm just feeling I can feel that I'm getting sick with something. And I don't get sick very often. The fact of the matter is, the last time I had the flu was, I think it was the fall of 2018. I don't get sick with the flu that often. It's memorable, because I usually get sick for like a week or something, and I'm like, like a pussy-ass bitch. Well, that's how I get sick, But anyway, the point is, but I don't usually get sick. And now I'm getting sick. Now, my thinking is that the odds are pretty good that I actually do have the coronavirus. And by the way, we shouldn't call it the coronavirus because coronaviruses are just a whole class of viruses. It's like calling a specific car, calling it a sedan. Well, yeah, but there are lots of sedans. There's Ford and Chevy and Mercedes, and a whole bunch of companies make cars that are sedans, right? Why are you calling just this specific model a sedan? But see what I'm saying? Anyway, going back to this thing of testing. Testing is it's just not going to be enough tests to go around, okay? And doctors are just going to look at you and say, okay, you got it, or you don't, okay? So again, don't worry about it. And this thing of like obsessing about testing, what good is it? What practical purpose does it serve? If you have some flu at this time or in the near future, chances are pretty good that this is coronavirus, okay? And remember, and this is the key point, 80% of people are going to be fine, okay? 80% of those who catch the flu and are infected, okay? Right now, I'm on day 3 of this, right? To tell you the truth, I feel fine, no fever. The only thing I feel is that sort of like the big muscles on my thighs sort of like tingle a bit, and the muscles on my shoulder. I have sort of like an itching at the back of my throat. But other than that, no symptoms, no coughing, nothing of the sort. Yeah, I'm pretty good. So it is okay. Knock wood, but it's more likely than not that I'm part of the 80%. I mean, come on, that's those are the odds. And even though, I bitch and moan and complain the fact that I'm like overweight and I'm like, I'm a fat fuck, blah, blah. But the fact is I'm not, okay? I mean, like right now I'm at 90 kilos. 90 kilos is about 192 pounds. I figure that I'm really about 7 kilos overweight, about 15 pounds overweight, which is not good. But, there are some fat fucks that are like 100 pounds overweight and with diabetes and shit, those fuckers, they're fucked. Those guys are in bad shape. Me, I'm in pretty good shape. I mean, you know, cardio is pretty good, you know, and all the rest of it. And so the point I'm trying to say is that, see, you have to consider your own situation and ask yourself, am I at risk that if I catch this thing, I'm going to go down the toilet? Are you in decent shape? Can you control that? See, if you're in, you know, you're severely overweight, okay? Now's the time to lose weight. You want to be losing weight right the fuck now. And the way to lose weight is real fucking simple. Stop eating. Stop eating and focus on fasting and doing exercise. The exercise, not because you want to get into great shape, but rather to burn the fat that you got, okay? Look, I've done some water fasts. You guys have, a few of you know that. I've done some videos about it in the past. See, I've done water fasts. Water fasts are basically you cut out all food except water and vitamins and minerals and salt. It's very important that you take vitamins, minerals, and salt, most especially, okay? You need it for your electrolytes. Anyway, you go cold turkey on food. I mean, like as if it were a drug. And you go cold fuck turkey. You know what I'm saying? You do that, and the first day you're going to drop 2.5 pounds. Second day you're going to drop 2 pounds. Third day you're going to drop another slightly under 2 pounds, and so on. You're going to drop a lot of fucking weight, really fucking fast, okay? And of course it's going to be kind of rough the first day or two, but actually by the third day, when the hunger pangs are completely gone, because what happens is that after 3 days or so, your stomach has contracted because it has no content. And as it contracts, it feels full just with the water, okay? It's a surprising effect, and I've experienced it multiple times, so I can tell you it's true. Your stomach contracts, and whenever you just fill up with water, it feels, satiated. You're not going to have hunger pangs after the third day. Believe me, okay? You just have to sweat out the first couple of days as your stomach contracts, okay? And what will happen is that as your stomach contracts and your body needs less energy to digest because you're not digesting anything, a lot of your energy is going to go into basic maintenance of your body. And you're going to start to burn the fat. Now it takes, going into ketosis, ketosis is the process by which your body no longer is burning carbohydrates or sugars that are stored in your liver, but rather it starts burning the fat that's stored in your around your muscle tissue. Your muscle tissue is the last thing to burn, okay? Just so that you know. It's first, you know, available carbohydrates and sugars in the liver, and then it starts going into the fat that's accumulated in your body, and at the very end of it, it starts burning muscle, but that's like, you know, months of total water fasting, okay? Don't worry about it. Well, not months, but at least like, I think it's 4 weeks before you start burning muscle. But that's like I said, that's extreme, and that happens when, you know, you're in the concentration camp in fucking, you know, the Soviet Union or Nazi Germany, okay? And that doesn't happen on a regular basis. Anyway, to go back to what I'm saying, you control your weight. You're going to get sick. So what do you do now? Now that you have the chance, you cut down on the weight. You lose the weight. Whatever is convenient. To me, water fasting is the most efficient. It's simple. You don't have to do anything. And a lot of times when you say, oh, I'm going to just eat less, the struggle to control it is much harder than just going cold turkey. That at least has been my experience, okay? But every guy is different. Anyway, you go, you start losing weight. You start getting into some shape. And recognize that eventually you're going to catch it. What's the part that you can control? Your weight. What's the part that you cannot control? The fact that you're going to get it. You see how important it is to understand that which you can control and that which you cannot? You can change how heavy you are, and that will affect your outcome when you get the disease. You cannot change when you will get the disease. You can't, okay? Just resign yourself. Okay, so let's move on from there. A lot of people want to know about the whole economics thing, okay, and it's a key issue. Okay, long and short of it, we're starting a Great Depression. This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing, and this is not going away. I mean, nothing that you say can wish it away. And a lot of people say, oh, the Federal Reserve will do something, and they're talking about helicopter money, and they're talking about, you know, Joe Kennedy the third, that fucking cum-dripping loser, was saying that everybody who earns below $100,000 should get $4,000 a month. I'm like, fuck you. But all kinds of stupid ass ideas, right? Of basically giving free money to people. Well, first of all, that's not going to happen. Okay, it's as simple as that. It's not going to happen because if it were to happen, the dollar would instantly collapse in value. It's simple as that, and it would cause a chaos that is undescribable. It would basically be Weimar Germany. Okay, people with stacks of money, using it to keep the stove on. Okay, it would be absurd. And anybody who says that, oh, we should do that, they're fucking idiot. They don't know what they're talking about. And a lot of people are going to say, well, the Federal Reserve gave like $1.5 trillion to the banks. No, you fucking imbecile. They didn't. Okay? What they did, and it's, okay, what they did is basically the following. They basically gave collateral. They created money out of thin air. Yes, they did. And they gave it to banks, or they will give it to banks. Yes, they are doing that. But see, they're giving something in return. They're getting something, rather, in return. The Federal Reserve on Sunday decided that they were going to go ahead with QE5, quantitative easing 5. Okay, this is a 5th iteration of it. Okay. Now, what's quantitative easing? It's basically that the Federal Reserve is creating money out of thin air, because they can do that. Okay, they can just create money out of thin air, and they're going to take this money and they're going to go out and buy bonds. They're going to go out and buy bonds. Bonds are, of course, considered assets. Okay, bonds are loans. See, corporations, often as not, what they do is they issue bonds because they need money for some sort of capital improvement. For instance, suppose you have a company X. And this company X manufactures widgets, and you want to build a factory. Now, the factory is going to cost you $1 billion. And of course, you don't have $1 billion, okay? You have, say, an income, from your regular sales of, say, 100 million, which is very good, right? But you don't have $1 billion cash, right? So what do? How do you get the $1 billion cash to go and build the factory so you can manufacture the widgets so you can sell them and make more money? Well, you go and get a loan, right? But see, a bank, you don't want to go to a bank because, see, on the one hand, $1 billion for a bank, that's a lot of money. But number two, the bank is going to charge you all kinds of fees. So wouldn't it be smarter for you to go directly to investors and instead of going through a bank? Of course. So what you do, you issue bonds. They're little bits of paper. They're basically IOUs. And on each little bit of paper, you say, this bond, this little bit of paper is worth $1,000. And in it, you give me $1,000 and I'll give you this little IOU for 1,000. And this little paper is a contract between you and me. That's why it's called a bond, a contract, okay? And I'll pay you the $1,000 plus interest. And the conditions of the bond can be, I'll pay you back in 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, whatever. And I'll pay you, say, 10% interest a year. I'm just making it up just to make it simple, all right? And that's a bond. And that's what companies do. They sell bonds to investors. Now, these bonds, of course, eventually get to banks. Because, see, banks have to have a certain amount of money in cash, and they also have to have certain investments for various legitimate and reasonable reasons, right? And so what they do is the banks, they need to have these assets on their books, but they also need cash. They need cash because they need to pay back their depositors or whatnot for different reasons. Now, what the Federal Reserve has done is that on Sunday, they announced QE5. They're going to create $500 billion to buy treasury bonds and another $200 billion to buy mortgage-backed securities. Now, why are they doing this? Because they are basically saying to the banks, to the big banks, they're saying, okay, you're going to need capital. You're going to need cash, ready money, cash money, because a lot of people are going to come to you asking for their money back. Okay, there's going to be a need for liquidity. Okay, that is, there's going to be a need for cash, and so the Federal Reserve announced this to calm the markets and basically signaling to the banks that you banks come to me, Federal Reserve, with your treasury bonds, and I will give you cash right now. You don't have to go out into the market to sell this. Now, why was the Federal Reserve worried about this? Because they were worried that the banks would go out into the market with these treasury bonds, these corporate bonds, these mortgage-backed securities, which are mortgage bonds, and go out and there wouldn't be any buyers because everybody's too afraid. And because there wouldn't be any buyers, the banks would be forced to lower the prices of these assets. And if they lower them too much, this could cause a huge panic and potentially collapse of the financial system. That's why they did QE5. That's why they made this big announcement. On the other hand, they also created these swap lines with central banks, Bank of England, Bank of Japan, ECB, European Central Bank. Now these swap lines, okay, swap lines are basically you give me something and I'll give you cash, okay? That central banks do. And they also, it's a whole boatload of cash. But see, all this cash that the Federal Reserve is creating, it is not cash that can be distributed to people. It is not free money. It is money that's going out, but in return, the Federal Reserve is getting something. It's getting these bonds that are assets, that are worth something, because each of these bonds delivers an interest payment, okay? It's like this. See, you have like an apartment and you have a motorcycle, say, right? Okay. Now the motorcycle, of course, has a title to it, right? Right. So you need cash. You're in desperate straits, dire straits, and you need cash. So I say to you, hey, give me the title to your motorcycle and I'll give you 10 grand. It's a loan, okay? And you'll pay me back, okay? You're going to pay me back those 10 grand. But I'll hold on to the title of your bike. And you can ride around your bike, no problem. You can ride your motorcycle to work, right? But I'll hold it, I'll hold the paper until your situation gets normalized, and then you're going to come back, give me the cash, and I'll give you back the title of your motorcycle. In essence, that's the operation that the Federal Reserve did, okay? It's much more complex and sophisticated and all the rest of it, but basically, that's what they did, okay? That is very, very different from me saying to you, oh, you need 10 grand? Here, have it. That's very, very different, okay? And you don't want to do that, and I'll explain why. If you have 300 million people, 330 million people in the United States who all of a sudden get $1,000 each, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 each, as some morons are suggesting, morons who are supposed to be serious leaders, but who should fucking know fucking better, right? You do that, right? And what happens? What happens when 330 million people all of a sudden all have $1,000 to spend? They go and spend it, right? And so people who are selling shit, what are they going to do? They're going to say, holy shit, look at all these people with $1,000. They're coming to buy my crap. I'm going to raise the prices. That's what they're going to do. And everybody who's selling shit is going to raise their prices because there's more cash floating around. And when the people show up and they say, oh, I want to buy Apple AirPods, right? Those fuckers cost like $300, right? And so what's Apple going to say? It says, it's not $300, it's $600. And people, because they have $1,000 and because people are morons, they will say, okay, here's $600. And all of a sudden you have 100% inflation. Just like that. See why this idea of just handing out money is so incredibly fucking stupid? Yeah. And of course, AOC and all those fucking commies and Bernie and Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang is not a totally stupid individual, but, this is universal basic income. It's a shit show. It's going to be a fucking disaster. Yeah, look, if you have $100,000, it's too late, okay? The big money was made, okay? The big money in this disaster, it has already been made. And opportunities for easy money off this shit, no. And I'll explain why. Because see, if you bet against stuff, how can I put this? When you bet against okay, think of it these terms. You go to the casino, right? And you're playing against the casino, right? So if you bet against the house and you win, the casino pays you. And for the casino, it's a loss. But see, the casino has a lot of other players. But what happens if, and they're presumably with all these other players, a lot of them are losing. I mean, after all, the house has an edge. It's like 3 or 4%, but it's enough that the house wins. I mean, casinos are a very lucrative business. Ask Sheldon Edelstein, the guy out in Macau, that guy. Anyway, if you go to the casino and bet against the casino and you win, you get your money, no problem. The casino doesn't have any problem giving you the money, right? But if you make a big enough bet against the casino that you might break the bank, break the house, right? Then it's a different story now, isn't it? And then, it's kind of like not such a smart bet, because if you win, you actually lose. Yeah, because if you make a bet that's big enough to break the house, then you're going to lose the money that you put on the table. Now, won't you? Yeah, that's what's going to happen. See, what's happening right now is that the easy money, the safe money has been made, and right now, the financial institutions across the globe, you do not know which is going to survive and which won't. That's the problem. See? Hello? Yeah, I got cut out. Hit 1 if you can hear me. Hit 1 if you can hear me. Hello? Can you hear? What has happened is that we are moving into an area where the financial institutions that you would put, when a market goes down, when there's a downturn in the market, what ballsy guys do is that they sell things short. What's short selling? Short selling is when you sell a asset at today's price and have to buy it back at a future date, presumably and hopefully at a lower price. Okay, this is how it works. See, suppose I think that stock XYZ is going to go down. Right now it's worth 100, and I think it's going to go down in, say, 30 days, right? So I sell it short. Now, what does that mean? It means I go to the bank and I say, look, I want to sell short the stock, so lend it to me. So a broker or somebody lends you the stock, and they charge you a little fee. Okay, say, to make the math easy, they charge you 2%, just say. So you sell it at today's price, and you get 100 right now. But you don't own the stock, you just borrowed it, right? But you have a promise that in 30 days, you're going to return that stock. And you're paying $2 for that, borrowing that stock for 30 days, right? 30 days rolls around, and let's say for the sake of argument that the stock fell to 80, right? So what do? Well, you sold it for 100, and now it's worth only 80. So you buy it at 80 and return it to the person you borrowed it from, and you keep the difference, which is 20. You made a profit. Of course, from the 20, you also have to discount the fact that you paid 2. It only works. Oh God. Did I disconnect again? Shit. Okay, I'm gonna have to do the whole fucking explanation. It might go belly up, then it's a disaster. Then you're a fool to get involved in it. You don't do it. Okay, that's the problem. It's called counterparty risk. Okay, because if there is a high enough counterparty risk, then you don't go into the bet. If you do not think that the person who you are betting against can make good on that bet, you don't do it. Mm-hmm. It's a truism that a lot of guys don't seem to understand. Okay, now the smart thing right now, if you have any money, let me go back a little. When you are in the middle of a crisis, as we are now, okay, and you didn't foresee it, and therefore didn't prepare for it, it's just happening, right? Then the smart thing is not to make any sudden move. Don't do anything risky, okay? Assume that anything that you stick your dick in might be a bear trap, okay? Think of it in those terms. Now, you come across some Victoria's Secret model and she's got a pussy like, I don't know, it's like sweeter than honey, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you stick your dick in that, fuck yeah. But suppose, there's just some hole in the wall. And maybe on the other side of that hole in the wall is the sweetest Victoria's Secret model's pussy imaginable. Or there's a fucking bear trap. Do you stick your dick in it? Okay, those who stick their dick in it, hit 1. And those who would not stick their dick into some random hole, press fuck no. I'll wait for you guys to catch up. Oh, Boss Man would stick his dick into some random hole? Oh, Martin Ivor? Yeah, come on, guys. Think. Exactly. See, if there's some random hole, you don't stick your dick in it because God knows what's in it, okay? Yeah, sure, maybe you get lucky and it's a Victoria's Secret model's pussy, but maybe it's a weed whacker. And maybe you're really unlucky, it's a bear trap, and chump! No more dick for you, buddy! Yeah, exactly. Holes are scary. Indeed they are. But you see my point, okay? We're in a crisis moment. And this is world historical, okay? Like I said at the beginning of the stream, the politicians, and this is sensible on their part, I am not begrudging them. They want to stretch this out as long as possible. They want this shit to go on for 2 years, okay? Because this thing is going to go burn through the whole world, and they want to minimize the number of deaths. This is a this is a morally good thing that they're doing. Okay. So don't think of it like they're evil bastards, or we should take our lumps or some shit like that. No. It's like a this wave can be so big that potentially 1 billion people could die. Now that's a horrifying scenario, and it is conceivable. Okay, 1 billion people in the United States. You know how many people that would be? That would be 50 million fucking people in the United States alone. Okay, so anybody who's saying, "Oh, let's do it, let's be gung ho and fuck this coronavirus. We can take it like a man," you're an idiot. You're a fucking idiot. Okay. Anybody who pays attention and studies this for about 5 minutes understands that the problem is that all of this hitting at the same time, all at once, in a very short period of time. And to tell you the truth, even though everybody's doing as much as they can to stretch it out and all the rest of it, the fact that the increase in infection rates seems to hold steady at between 1.15 and 1.25 per day, it looks to me like this whole social distancing shit and all this flattening the curve shit and all this shit, it's not going to work. Okay, I mean, I hope I'm wrong here. I seriously hope I'm wrong. But right now, it doesn't look like it. Right now, what it looks like is that this shit is relentless and nothing you do can stop it. Okay? So, going back to the financial stuff. The last 2 weeks have been incredible from a financial perspective. Okay? This shit is, incredible. So last week we had a serious problem where OPEC plus, okay, that is the OPEC countries plus Russia, they had a breakdown in Vienna. What's going on is that, Russia is predominantly interested in natural gas. They have oil. They have a lot of oil production, but they're predominantly interested in natural gas. Now the Saudis, they also have natural gas, but they're predominantly interested in oil. Okay, that's their bread and butter. Just as natural gas is the bread and butter of the Russians, right? Now, it made sense for Russia to be part of OPEC. The fact of the matter is, when OPEC was first formed back in, I think it was 71, they offered the then Soviet Union to join OPEC, and the Soviet Union declined. They said that basically they want to join up with a bunch of ragheads, right? Fools them, because those ragheads, right? Saudis and Kuwaitis and Iraq, Iran, and all the rest of them, they grabbed the West by the balls, right? And the Soviet Union was later clamoring to get in, but the OPEC members were like, no, too late, buddy. But anyway, spilt milk today. So Russia and Saudi Arabia, they failed to agree on a cap on the oil. Now, why did they want to reach a cap on the oil and natural gas to a lesser extent? Because if you have a cartel and you limit the amount that you produce of any given product, in this case oil, the price of that product will naturally rise. It will rise much more than if you increased production. Because in a market, and this is something that David Ricardo pointed out over close to 2 centuries ago. The perception of how much supply there is influences the price of that thing far more than the actual amount of the supply. So if people felt or thought or believed that OPEC plus, that is OPEC plus Russia, were really holding down the supply, then the price would balloon and they'd make shit tons of money. They failed to reach an agreement because both sides had different projections as to what price that would be. And so Saudi Arabia, which is essentially controlled by the nephew or the son or the nephew of the king, I always forget, a guy called Mohammed bin Salman, who is a crazy motherfucker. He is a crazy, crazy ass guy. I mean, he's fucking nuts, right? And he's an evil fuck. I mean, that guy, he's evil, no question, right? Anyway, this fucker, he decided, fuck it, we're going to do an oil war. An oil war is basically that they are going to pump like there's no tomorrow and flood the market with cheap oil with the idea of eliminating the competition. Now, the people they want to eliminate insofar as oil are the frackers, okay? They want to wipe them out. Now, this oil war, this is very, very serious shit, and I'll explain why. You think that it would be a good thing that oil-producing countries are producing so much oil that the price goes way down. You think that this is good, right? Well, yeah, sure, for the consumer it might be good. The consumer is going to see his gasoline price, he's going to go from $2.50 per gallon to $2 or even less. There are some guys who are posting on Twitter, they're getting gas for like $1.60 regular, right? And they're happy as a clam and good on them. But the thing is, see, a lot of U.S. oil producers are doing fracking, okay? Now, fracking is more expensive than just what the Saudis and the Russians are doing, okay? Because fracking is a technologically more sophisticated way to get oil because it's oil that is trapped in the rock, okay? And you basically have to use water that is injected down. It's a complicated process, right? And because of that, the break-even point of shale, of fracking, is something like $30 per barrel. That is, it costs roughly $30 to extract a barrel of fracking oil. So if the price of oil is above $30, yay, we make a profit. If it's below $30, then you don't make a profit. So what do? You shut down the well. You shut down the well, and therefore you don't get any income as a company, right? And you're like, well, what's the big fucking deal? Who cares if these oil companies don't get some income from their oil because they had to shut down their wells because of cheap oil worldwide? Well, the problem is that these companies, how did they build the fracking wells? They issued debt, bonds, corporate bonds. A lot of corporate bonds, a lot of corporate debt, okay? And this debt is on the books of a lot of banks, a lot of pension funds, a lot of different people that need money for different reasons. So if these companies, all of a sudden, they are not bringing in the income that they used to, they will not be able to pay back their debts, i.e. they will not make good on the bonds that they issued. And therefore, those bonds, potentially, they are going to be discounted in price. It could be just a little bit, maybe 3%, 5%, or maybe a lot, maybe 10% or 20%. Maybe the bond isn't worth shit and it's basically 100% discount. Holy fuck. Oil producers, frackers, and I think it is, the next 60 days, they got to come up with $140 billion. That's their obligations for the next 60 days. And this oil war, I mean, there are people, sensible people who are not morons, who are saying realistically that oil might fall to $10 a barrel. Yeah, because see, the Russians, they can produce oil, no problem, very cheaply, okay? Yeah, it's not the highest grade oil. It's not West Texas Intermediate, right? Or Brent light crude or whatever. But it doesn't matter. It's still cheap oil. Yeah, it needs a little bit more refining, but it's still, for them, they can produce it for like something like $7-8 a barrel. So even if the price falls to 20 as it is now, what's the price of oil? Price of oil, here we go. What is the current price of oil? And the current price of oil is, Oh no, this was no. Wait, sorry. This is before the oil. Let me find it. Sorry about this. I should have prepared this. Yeah, 26, 27, 26.95. Yeah, $26.95. That's yesterday. West Texas Intermediate crude. WTI, 27 bucks a barrel. Frackers can't extract oil at that price. It's too cheap. They're fucked. Okay. Somebody, Gabriel here is saying 22 USD now. Gabriel, what oil is that? Is that Brent or WTI? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, actually, oh, well, tell me now, but it does not matter. See, these guys are all fucked. They're not going to be able to pay back their debt. See, and this has a cascading effect. See, if the company, yeah, holy shit, $22, man, they're all fucked. If they can't deliver, excuse me, if they cannot pay their bonds, so people who hold those bonds, they're going to try to get rid of them, of course. And of course, in any fire sale, it's basically a game of musical chairs. Okay, you want to be the first one out of the gate, yeah, because everybody else is going to start losing, right? So what's going to happen is that everybody's going to try to get out of this shit, and they're not going to be able to. And the people left holding the bag, they're going to have to start selling other shit that they own, other assets, other bonds, other stock, in order to get the cash to cover up the hole that they currently have, because the oil companies, the American oil companies, the frackers, couldn't pay their debts. You see? And you see how it becomes a cascading effect? And see, if these bonds, the oil bonds, fall, then I have to sell other shit to make good on that hole that I have. I sell the other shit, and what happens to that other shit? I'm not the only one selling it. Everybody else is doing the same boat. Other banks, other institutions, pension funds, and whatnot. They start selling, and then all of a sudden, the whole bond market starts going down the tubes. You see? And that's the problem. That's the core issue. See, coronavirus did not cause this financial crisis. It was just the gun that whose echo set off the avalanche, because we're in an avalanche. On Monday, it was the second worst day in history in the stock market. It was the single biggest point drop in history, 3,000 points. It dropped 12.93%, second only to the 87 crash, and the 87 crash was a flash crash. It was like it was basically a technical issue. Nothing really happened, okay? It just looks really scary, but the net effect was zero, okay? The 87 crash was a fluke, and it was because of computer systems that had been developed to make very, very fast trades. And they'd never been stressed before. And because of that, they all suddenly went into sell mode. They all hit a limit, and all of a sudden everybody sold, and the whole stock market collapsed by 22 percentage points in 1987. And in the in the autopsy of the event, everybody realized, what we have to do is we have to put these stop gaps. And if this whole market falls 7%, we have to put it on timeout for X amount of time, so that everybody chills out and realizes, is this real or not? Okay, and after that, no problem. But then now we've had a bunch of timeouts, and the stock market keeps on falling. Because why is this happening? Because see, everybody realizes that the stock market and the bond market are basically lies. See, over the last, I would say, depending on how you measure it, between 15 years and 25 years, the Federal Reserve, the Bank of England, and the European Central Bank, what they have essentially done is they have been making very cheap money, low interest money, to foment investment. And so because they artificially depress the price of money, because that's what interest rates are, they artificially depress the price of money, and so much cheap money allowed many people to malinvest. That is, invest in things that ordinarily they would not have invested in, but which were money losers. Okay? Yeah, I know. The S&Ps are another 8%. Dow Jones is another 5. It's going to keep on going. This shit is not going to end, because see, All this shit is not real, okay? Think of interest rates as the price of money, okay? An interest rate is the price of money. It's how much money costs, right? Okay, so how do you set the cost of anything, or price of anything rather? How do you set the price of something? Well, it's the intersection of the supply curve and the demand curve, right? Yeah, that's economics 101. And so, if you have more of a supply of something, it gets cheaper. If you have less of the supply of something, it gets more expensive. Similarly, if you have more demand of something, it gets more expensive. If you have less of a demand of something, it gets cheaper, right? But we all know that if somebody starts to artificially distort the price of something, then the supply and demand curves start to act in very weird ways that are not normal. For instance, if the demand for something is X, but I make the cost of that, the price of that, a lot cheaper, then the demand shoots up, right? Yeah, it's economics 101. With cheap money, the demand for loans exploded. And all that loan money was used to invest in things that were stupid, or make bad investment decisions, or spent on foolish things. It also created the conditions that we are experiencing, where we have a man, Jeff Bezos, who's worth $60 billion. That's absurd. That doesn't make any kind of logical sense, okay? But you see what I'm saying? All of this has been going on since one way to look at it is that, in a very real sense, this shit has been going on since 87. 1987, that's fucking 33 fucking years. Where you have had cheap money. Such cheap money. Yeah, Bitcoin is a meme, and I'll get to Bitcoin in a second. I mean, Bitcoin, they're getting raped up the ass, right? Hit 1 if they're getting raped up the ass with a fall in the price. Hit 0 if you want me to see the expression on the face of Bitcoin holders. Yeah. Anyway, the cheap money is what has created this condition, and it was blown up. It was blown up. Everything had a very high price. It's basically called asset inflation, okay? Where the price of an asset went up exponentially. And this is how it happens. See, look, I lend money and I charge an interest rate. That's the price of money, right? But the central bank sets the price of money. And the way they do this, by the way, is that they lend money to banks. And it's called the Fed funds rate. And that the Fed funds rate is the overnight rate that the Federal Reserve lends to commercial banks. There are legitimate and very clear reasons why they do so. Because banks need cash, and sometimes they need to lend money overnight for various reasons that are not important to this conversation. But the Fed funds rate is the mechanism by which the Federal Reserve sets the price of money, i.e. distorts the price of money. When they set money so cheaply, you had interest rates that were like 1%, 2%, 3%, right? 3% interest rate is nothing. And so what happens is that, see, when money is that cheap, there is the urge to chase yield, as it's called. That is, for investors, the safest investment is treasury bonds, because the US government will never go bankrupt. They will always make good on their bonds, on their debts. That's what treasury bonds are, they're debt. Treasury bonds are how the US federal government finances its deficit. It sells these bonds to investors, and investors gladly take them, okay? If treasuries are putting out 3.5% per year, right? That's the best you can do. Then see, other assets, they are going to be, slightly above that because they're slightly riskier. See, like for instance, corporate debt, like blue chip corporate debt. If treasuries are 3.5%, blue chip corporate debt is going to be 4%. And the companies that are not so good are going to be 4.5%. And the companies that are even crappier than that are going to be 5 and 6%, and so on, right? And so that's how risk is going to accrue. And so you're an investor. You want to be earning a good return on your money. You don't want to be earning 3% a year. Why don't you want to be earning 3% a year? Because fucking inflation is going to eat it. You're actually going to be earning only like 1% a year. Okay, think how crazy that is. You don't want to do that. You want to be earning, what, 7, 8% per year, right? So how do you do that? You start investing in riskier things. That's what you do. You start putting your capital into riskier investments. And as you put it into riskier investments, the cost of those investments rises, right? And so what happens to the investors who come behind you? They see that the investment that you invested in is now more expensive, and they're like, no, I'm not going to invest in that because it's too expensive. So I'm going to go to the next riskier place to invest. And you see how a risk bubble emerges? Because everybody's chasing returns because the benchmark is so low. It's so little money that you are earning for your investment that it pays you to go looking for more risk. And so that's how that balloon blows up, okay? And it's artificial. It's a lie. That's what's going on, okay? I've been explaining this in a very poor way. I had a completely different strategy to explain this all, but I hope you got the point, okay? Hit W if you explained it, and hit L if you didn't. I'll wait for you guys to catch up. Let me drink some of my tea. Seamus Wall has a very good question. He says, do you think the primary reason for sovereign bond yields rising over the past few days is because traders know many trillions in spending and stimulus are coming? No, they think that they're not going to get paid back, or they're going to get paid back in inflated currency. That's what they think. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you pretty much got the picture. Okay, good. Now, the stock market is going to continue to fall. Okay, the stock market before this crash, it was a valuation price to earnings ratio was 35 to 1. Now, what does that mean? When you add up all of the earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, right? You add up all the earnings of all the companies in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, right? And you add up the price of all the stocks, and you divide the price of all the stocks by the combined aggregate earnings. You got a ratio of 35 to 1. That was fucking insane, okay? Because when I was growing up, when I was a kid, see, it was normal for that price to earnings ratio to be around 10. And here we are at 35. That's fucking crazy. That means that it was overpriced. The whole stock market was overpriced, okay? It was overpriced by basically 450%. Yeah. It shouldn't have been, at 35 to 1. It should be about 10 to 1. Yeah, 15 to 1 tops. Okay. So, the stock market, it's collapsing. It peaked at just shy of 30,000, right? That Dow Jones Industrial Average, right? Peaked at just shy of 30,000. Look, this is what's going to happen. When a market collapses, it doesn't go down to its fair market value. If it's peaking out at 100 and it ought to be valued at, say, 45, it doesn't drop from 100 to 45 and land no problem. No. It goes from 100, it goes to 10. Okay, that's what happens. And then from 10 to climb back up to 45 takes a while. Okay. A lot of people are saying, oh, let's buy the dip, buy the dip. Don't be fucking stupid, okay? Great fortunes have been lost chasing the market to the bottom, okay? What does that mean? It means that the market goes down, you figure, oh, now's an opportunity to buy. So you buy, and it keeps on falling. So you say to yourself, ooh, it keeps on falling. I'm going to make more money when it turns around, but I don't have any more cash, so I'm going to borrow money to buy on this quote-unquote dip. And so they buy. But then the stock continues to fall. And all of a sudden, they're like, I don't have any cash. I have maxed out my credit. And all of a sudden, I'm getting a margin call. A margin call is basically the person who lent you money saying, I want my fucking money. Where is it? And you don't have it. And you go broke. Chasing the market to the bottom, great fortunes have been lost. You never do it. When you have chaos, and this goes back to the key issue that I wanted to say from the very beginning of this conversation. When things are beyond your control, you don't know what the fuck is going on, don't do anything rash. don't stick your dick in a random hole. Okay? The stock market is collapsing. Do you understand why it's collapsing? Do you know when it's going to stop collapsing? No? Then don't fucking stick your dick in the hole, because you're going to get your dick chopped off. Simple as that. Yes, a depression is coming. Okay? You let it fall. Okay? Look, way back in the day, this was 2003, 2002, 2003, something like that. See, there had been the dot-com bubble collapse, and S&P was shit, and NASDAQ shit, and everything was shit, right? And so, and it had been like a year or something, and I get a call from this guy, a broker, and he's like, "Okay, we're going to get involved in this exchange traded fund that's based on the NASDAQ index or some shit like that." It was one of the first exchange traded fund. I don't know what the fuck it was, right? And he's like, the market's dropped, right? And he said the minimum buy-in is $50,000, and the market is at like 1,000, right? You put in $50,000, and we're going to buy, position in the market, right? And I'm like, oh, it's 1,000, man. And he said, it's fallen so long, it's been down so long. The only way to go is up. And stupidly, I'm like, and he was right. It doubled in like 9 months, yeah. But that was over a year since the crisis. See, the crisis we're having now, I would not invest in anything before March 18th, 2021, just on principle, because I don't know what the fuck is going to happen. Okay, I prefer to have the market start to go back up and me lose out on some profit than to chase the market to the bottom. Simple as that, okay? And by the way, Joe Kennedy Sr., the only Kennedy who had any brains, because all the other Kennedys were fucking idiots, right? Well, Joe Kennedy Sr., he said, only a fool sells or buys, only a fool waits for top dollar. That was the saying. Only a fool waits for top dollar. And the inverse, of course, would be only a fool tries to buy at the bottom of the market, okay? See, when you have made your profits, you sell, okay? You don't wait for the top of the market. You wait for the moment when, for you, you've made good money and you're happy, you get out. Ditto with like buying into something. You don't buy when you think it's the bottom of the market. No. You buy when the price is stable, and it might be rising, but so what? If it's rising, that's a good thing now, isn't it, right? But if it's falling, you don't know when that's going to end. Somebody said in chat, never catch a falling knife. Fucking A. You never know. You never know. If the market's falling, leave it alone, because, yeah, you might get incredibly lucky, okay? There's always some asshole who won the lottery for $60 billion or whatever the fuck, right? When was it? One time, there was some lottery that actually was like $900 million or some nonsense like that. Yes, of course, there's always some fucking asshole who gets lucky that way. You're not going to be that asshole. It's always some other guy, okay? I've never been that asshole. I've never been that guy that, just went in right at the right moment and boom, presto, I got it. No, never happened, okay? It's always like, sort of like, you almost hit it perfectly, but you really didn't. But you got lucky and you made money, and so that's that, okay? So anyway, going back to, and the shoeshiner principle. Yeah, the excite might, yeah, that's another one. What's his face? Joe Kennedy got out of the stock market back in 1929, a few months before the crash, because he said he got his shoes shined, and the shoe shine boy was giving him stock tips. That's when he knew it was time to get out. Fucking smart, yeah. If people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about start telling you about, buy this, buy that, you don't want to do it, okay? Anyway, going back to the problem of the markets short term. Short term, just don't get involved. You're gonna lose your face. Your face is going to be ripped off. Do you want that? Your dick is going to be lopped off. Do you want that? If you do, then go ahead. If you want your pecker to be shredded, imagine your dick. Yeah, you love your dick. We all do. Yeah, it's nice and hard, nice and stiff, right? Really like hard. It's sort of like a bit spongy on the outside, but like fundamentally hard and makes you happy, right? Now imagine that. Now imagine like a razor blade. No, better, a straight razor. It starts slicing it off, you know, like a 1/4 inch at a time. Yeah. Are you feeling me? Are you getting that visual? You know, write one if you can see that visual. That, you know, your dick is getting, your hard, nice, beautiful cock is getting sliced off a 1/4 inch at a time by a straight razor. Do you know how that feels? Do you imagine how that feels? Yeah? Horrifying? Yeah, I bet. Yeah. That. Okay? Don't get involved in something that you don't know. Okay? Simple as that. Okay, so long term, what's going to happen here? Okay, I mean, you know, all fooling around aside, nobody's really going to know. Okay, and all of the policy prescriptions and the political fight and this election, you know, right now we are in a moment of such chaos that anything is possible. You tell me next year that Bernie Sanders is president, I wouldn't be surprised. You tell me that Donald Trump is president, I wouldn't be surprised. Anything can happen. Okay, it's simple as that. Okay, because all this shit accumulating, there's simply no way to predict what will happen. Okay, simple as that. You have to understand that into the future, for the next year and a half, anything could happen. Okay? Oh, by the way, the one thing that won't happen, a vaccine. There will be no vaccine for coronavirus. They're going to talk about it. They're going to go on and on and on about it. They're going to dangle it. It'll be like a little carrot, like just a little bit further, then it'll never happen. Okay? What you call it, a vaccine for this shit, at least 2 years away. At least, okay? And yeah, they said the other day that they injected somebody with a possible vaccine. Yeah, if that person croaks tomorrow, yeah, that'll be that, okay? And that might well happen. I think that was incredibly irresponsible, by the way, because, you know, you never know with this shit. This is dangerous shit, okay? You're playing with fucking fire, okay? So, yeah, exactly. This is chaos, and chaos is uncertainty. You don't want to fuck with this, okay? You don't want to stick your dick in a hole that you don't know what it is, okay? Yeah. So anything can happen, but the one thing I know is not going to happen, no fucking vaccine. I mean, the way a vaccine, you know, with clinical trials and the whole shebang, the way it ought to be, takes at least 24 months between, like, they start doing it and in 24 months they are producing it. Because even apart from the testing part, which takes like a year, okay, producing this shit, what you think that, you know, they hit a button and all of a sudden it appears? No, it's a fucking long and complicated process. It's not fucking easy, okay? Well, the point is, see, even if they were able to do it in record time is 9 months. You saw the numbers that we were talking about before, that this shit doubles every 6 days. See, if it doubles every 12 days, see, it still peaks out way before this hypothetical vaccine would be ready. And we're assuming the hypothetical vaccine would be ready in 9 months, which has never happened, okay? So, no, this shit, it's going to burn through. Any talk about the vaccine is just irresponsible. It's designed to pacify the people, okay? Now, the problem with the people. Now, this is serious. See, in the United States, what is it? A third of the population lives paycheck to paycheck, and 50% of the population cannot scrape together $1,000 in an emergency. Mm-hmm. It's numbers like that, okay? I actually forget the specifics of it, but it's fucking horrifying. The 2 data points, that people live paycheck to paycheck, it's very true, and people cannot scrape together $1,000. I always forget if it's 50% live paycheck to paycheck and a third cannot put together $1,000, or vice versa. It doesn't matter. It's a huge, huge number of people who are going to start to suffer next week, okay? Something else going on. You know, the fucking police in fucking Philadelphia, fucking morons, they put out a list of crimes that they're not going to prosecute. What the fuck do you think that is? And it includes, like, personal theft. It includes, like, I think it's even breaking and entering in some cases, you know? What the fuck do you think that means? It means that every single motherfucker is going to look at that list and say, hey, I'm going to go and rob somebody because the cops ain't going to arrest me. That's what it means. It means that there's going to be a huge fucking spike in crime. Right now, it's not happening. Right now, you know, people are too shocked by the whole thing, right? Okay, whatever you got that you think is valuable that might get stolen, you better put it away right the fuck now. Okay? You think that your bike outside isn't going to get stolen? You know, your little 10-speed or whatever the fuck? You think your computer, your cell phone? People are going to start stealing shit. Crime is going to shoot through the roof because of a combination of two things. Number one, people are broke. They don't have money and they're now unemployed. Unemployment, it's going to quadruple in a month. Okay, right now, what is it? 4% or some shit like that? You know, expect 15% in a month, at least. Okay? I'm talking national in the United States, okay? Yeah, and it's going to keep on rising. People are going to steal more. People are going to get desperate, okay? Now, the thefts are going to be, number one, opportunistic, you know, because the fucking police said that they're not going to prosecute people. So, yeah, there's a career criminal class that's going to go out there and, you know, make hay while the sun shines. Make hay while the pigs are at home, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of other people, and I would guess the majority of people who are going to rob, who are going to steal shit, they're desperate, okay? Desperate people do all kinds of crazy ass shit, okay? And in a way, you can't really fault them. You know, if you're dead broke and you've got a baby and you don't have money for diapers, right? You don't have money for food, for formula for your child, you're liable to do fucking anything. And if that means, you know, going up to you, hitting you in the face and stealing your computer, fuck yeah, they'll do it. I'd do it in a heartbeat. Yeah. Think. Somebody is desperate. They have no money for food. They're going to steal from you, okay? They're going to go up there. They will assault you, hit you in the face, and steal whatever shit you got. So be smart. Don't walk around with shit that's expensive. Be discreet. You know, you make a lot of money. You make you do well in something, whatever it is. Keep it to your fucking self. You got a lot of money. By the way, there are going to be a lot more kidnappings. A lot more kidnappings. Yeah, kidnappings of high-profile people, or the children or loved ones of high-profile people. Fucking A. Yeah, that's going to start happening in a big way. Yeah, because people are going to get desperate, and there's always some moron who says, oh, we could do this. And of course, they go ahead and try it, and somebody winds up dead. Okay? This happens all the time. Okay, so anyway, crime is going to go up because what I explained before. A third of the population lives paycheck to paycheck, and half can't put together $1,000. Simple as that. And so people, they're unemployed during this coronavirus, this quarantine shit, to flatten the curve, which is rational. All those people, what are they doing? They're sitting around. They're not working. They're not bringing in any income. They can't feed themselves. They can't feed their families. They get desperate. They rob. And the police are telling them, don't worry, we won't arrest you if you do certain crimes. So they're going to do those certain crimes. Of course they will. It's the rational thing to do. Okay? So crime is going to spike. Unemployment, yeah, it's going to spike. It's going to be like astronomical. I mean, 15%. If this shit keeps on going, you know, by the 1st of June, you know, if it's going the way it looks like it's going, which is, you know, we're going to keep on going this way, the 1st of June, 30% unemployment. Yeah. 30% unemployment because the employers basically went broke. Or it might be that they don't actually technically go broke because it's pointless to go and do anything. Because I'm looking around here in Amsterdam, every single fucking restaurant is closed. Every single one. Okay? Everything is closed. Everything is shut down. Nothing is fucking moving. Right? And so this is going to continue. This is, you know, it's yeah. Yeah. Oh, fuck that, coach. I had travel plans to Colombia. That's never going to happen. You're not going to go to Colombia this summer. Okay? No, you're staying put. Wherever you are, you're staying put. Now, a lot of, you know, YouTubers are talking about the civil rights and whether they can force people to be in quarantine or force people to take vaccines. That, I'm not particularly interested in this time. Okay? I'm much more interested in the immediate effects and what's going to happen. And so, I've been ranting on for like 2 hours almost, an hour and 52 minutes. So I'm going to leave you with what I said to you originally. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. What can we not change? Well, we can't change the fact that the coronavirus is coming and it's going to go across the whole goddamn world. We cannot change. Yeah, of course you can't see me, by the way. We cannot change the fact that we might get the coronavirus and we might do okay or we might die. Can't control that. Okay. What we can control is how prepared we are if and when we personally are infected by the coronavirus. Are we in good enough shape that we could probably make it? Okay. If we're not, now would be a time to start losing the weight. You don't have to be in great physical condition. It's not have the certain weaknesses, and weight, being heavy, is the principal one. Lots of people are going to die because of it, okay? All that extra weight that you're carrying, it's going to kill off people like the fucking flies. Yeah. So you can control that insofar as the stock market. Where it's going to go, the stock market, the bond market, all the financial markets, you don't know. It's going to go down the tubes. Now, this is what I am going to do. I cannot tell you what you should do, okay? But I'll tell you what I am going to do insofar as my money is concerned. See, my great concern is that, banks will not have the money to pay me back the money that I have lent them. Because after all, a deposit, when you deposit money with a bank, that's a loan. You are lending money to the bank. And I do not really believe that a bank will pay me back, okay? And so I personally have no intention of leaving any money in any bank. And I personally have every intention of holding on to cash and potentially purchasing some other cash-like object. I personally would like to buy silver, but at the same time, I see that the silver price is falling like a rock, and I don't quite understand why. Silver is an industrial metal, and there is the expectation that industry in general is going to basically shut down. That's also why platinum is so cheap. Gold, it's moving in very weird directions. And I've always known that the gold market is a very small market. Okay? People always talk about the price of gold, blah, blah. But, it's only like $30 billion, the entire gold market. It's not that big. It's certainly not big compared to other asset classes. Compared to other asset classes, it's trivial. Okay? I mean, $30 billion, I do believe that that's roughly the figure. 30 billion or 35, something like that. It's a trivially sized market. Okay? And so, of course, it's easy to manipulate it. Any central bank worth its, they could easily manipulate it to do whatever the fuck it wanted it to do. Okay? So that's why the gold market has always done weird shit. I personally got burned back in 2008. I thought it was going to go way up, and it didn't. And I bought some options, and I got fucked. Okay? I lost about 42 grand that time. And that really fucking hurt. But, live and learn. But the point is that, the silver, it should be up. I haven't checked it today, as a matter of fact, so I don't know where it's at now. The last I checked, it was like at 11 or something like that, something crazy, and I'm like, what the fuck, right? I don't know what's going on with that, but the point I'm trying to say is that the smart thing, the thing that I am doing is I am keeping my money in cash, and I do not keep all of my valuables in one spot, okay? Valuables, cash, whatever. You spread it around. You have it all over the fucking place, okay? Because you see, if you have like a nest egg and you put it all in one spot, right? And somebody steals it, then you lost 100%. But if you take your nest egg and divide it into 10 little nest eggs that are, hidden all over the place in different places, in physically different locations, right? And, one gets lost or stolen or whatever, well, you only lost 10%. I mean, you're not going to like it, but it's certainly not the end of the world. It's certainly not as bad as losing 100%. You see what I'm saying? Now, of course, in a very real sense, it's impractical to have like a lot of money in cash. But what you can do is spread around to different financial institutions and make sure that those financial institutions are in separate jurisdictions such that if one were to fail, it doesn't necessarily mean that it would drag down the other. For example, if you have 2 or 3 U.S. banks, right? If one goes down, the others are going to get take a big hit too. They might go down too. So how smart is it to, park money in 3 adjacent financial institutions? Not too smart at all. But if you have different financial institutions, like one in Europe or a couple in Europe, but in different countries in Europe, and maybe 2 in the US and a couple in Asia and a couple in Latin America and so on, like spread around, well, then the risks are a lot lower now, aren't they? See? That's how you mitigate risk, okay? You never have like the one nest egg parked in the one spot. You do that and you're going to get run over. You're going to lose it all, okay? You always spread it around, okay? Now, but finally, insofar as what to buy, we got to wait. We got to wait, and we're going to wait weeks, months, okay? Not years, but several months to figure out what's what, okay? Okay, yeah, now is the absolute worst time in the world to start investing. Hascom says, advice for people who want to start investing, now is not the time. It's too late. I've been getting calls for the entirety of the stream. I don't know what that means. Apparently, there's a shortage of physical silver. Physical silver is trading way above the spot price. I don't know. I'm not really... That, for me, is not my concern right now. Because personally, I have to square up a bunch of positions and argue with people and just get my fucking money. Because I made the right bets. But, getting your fucking money is all the times like pulling teeth. Even from banks that owe you the money. Question, in the time of despair, what Rush album do you recommend for a first-time listener? Moving Pictures, absolutely. Absolutely. Moving Pictures, and then work your way back in time, okay? Go Moving Pictures, Permanent Waves. Don't go to Hemispheres yet. You want to go Moving Pictures, Permanent Waves, 2112. Farewell to Kings, Hemispheres, and then you're set. And then the others, you can listen to them whenever, okay? Whenever you want to. But yeah, that's the order. Moving Pictures, Permanent Waves, 2112. Yeah, those are the 3 in that order. And after that, just pick up whatever. You'll be fine, okay? Patriot Act. Well, I don't know about that. I'm looking through the chat to see any questions I missed because I've been ranting and ranting for 2 hours. I must be boring you silly, but I got 212 of you fuckers listening to me, so I can't be that fucking dumb that I'm spewing the crazy ass shit. Me loan money from the banks at 6%. Question, should we loan money and wait for opportunities? Well, see, when you lend money to anybody, you got to know your counterparty. You gotta make sure that the counterparty is going to pay up. That's the whole point of a loan. You want to minimize risk, okay? So, and never, you personally, you as a guy, unless you've got a gun or a goon who can enforce and collect, don't lend money, okay? It's always a disaster. I made a video on my main channel called The Loan. Look it up, okay? The loan, I lent money to a family member. It ended in tears. It was just a whole shit show, and everybody got pissed off. I talk about it there. Okay. Question from G34 though. Question: can the government supply food to jobless people? Sure, they can, and they probably will. They will not supply cash. Okay, because the smarter people in government recognize that if they do, they'll debase the currency and it'll be a shit show. So they'll figure out a way to get public assistance like food and shit like that. And also, what would be smart is to go on gigantic public works projects. And that's something that Trump would fucking love. To go on like monster public works programs, soak up all that unemployment and get people working. Yeah, that is probably what they're going to do. Go straight Keynesian. Yeah, that kind of approach. And frankly, the U.S. infrastructure is so deteriorated that it wouldn't be a bad idea. But they're not going to give helicopter money. They're not going to just write checks to random people. No way. That's not going to fucking happen. Yeah, for pandemics, vaccines, you are the guinea pig. Yeah, who wants to be a banker? Elias Uisal. Coach, should I sell all my stock? It's a little late now, isn't it? Yeah. Well, okay. I can't give advice, so I'm not giving any advice. I am only saying that it looks as if most stocks are going to continue to fall. You make up your mind, you're an adult. Question, why do you think it's so far away? I don't know what that means, Anthony, sorry. Question, what do you think of shorting SPY? I'm not going to, I can't say it. I can't answer that. This case is full of uncertainty. I'm looking for anyone that says, like, big question. Question, what about Bitcoin? Bitcoin got fucked. Yeah. Bitcoin got fucked, and it proved, all these Bitcoin morons were saying, it's a hedge, against the market crash. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, now how's your asshole now, huh? How's it feel now, huh? Getting raped? Yeah, I bet it feels like, yeah. The Bitcoin guys, I despise them because it's tulips. It's bullshit, okay? And I'll explain why. I've ranted about this shit other times, but I'll tell you if you don't know. You see, a currency to be valuable, it has to be required for something, okay? It has to be essential. Now, modern monetary theory is an economic theory, an economic ideology that's just full of shit, but they do point out something very clever, which is that, see, a currency is valuable because the tax authority in your country demands you pay it in that currency. And that you think, well, yeah, that's kind of obvious, but it's actually very subtle. See, because if you're living in the United States, you cannot pay your tax bill with Japanese yen or British pounds or European euros. No, you need dollars, okay? And ditto with, Canadian tax authority, Mexican tax authority. In each country, you got to pay the currency. You got to pay the tax with the currency of that country, right? And that makes you need the currency. No other currency works in order to pay the tax bill. What do you need Bitcoin to buy? What thing must you have Bitcoin in order to buy? By the way, this exercise of what you need a currency to buy is very interesting because it explains why the dollar has not collapsed with all this federal government debt. And it's because OPEC, you cannot buy oil without dollars. You need dollars. See? That's a key financial move that Walter Simon, the Treasury Secretary under Richard Nixon, made when he cut the deal in July of 1974 with the Saudis. He made sure that the Saudis insisted that they would only sell oil in dollars. Okay? You need dollars to buy oil. Okay? That's why the dollar is so strong. But anyway, going back to the issue of Bitcoin. You don't need Bitcoin to buy anything. People say, oh, but you need it to buy pot. No, you don't. I can go up to my pot dealer right now, and if I show him $100, he'll sell me pot. Believe me, okay? I can show him $100, 100 francs, 100 euros, 100 whatever currency exists, and he'll sell me pot. If I show him Bitcoin or tell him that I have Bitcoin transfer, he'll say, sure, I'll sell it. But I don't need Bitcoin to buy the pot from the dealer. I don't need Bitcoin to buy anything because there's no good or service, no bill, no tax bill, for instance, that can only be paid with Bitcoin, none whatsoever. And therefore, that's the thing I realized when I first heard about Bitcoin. I first heard about Bitcoin in 2011, and I was offered a bunch of Bitcoin back in the day, and I didn't take it because I thought it was stupid. I thought it was just a plaything, a toy for nerds, right? Little did I know that it would become like tulip mania. Tulip mania was the 17th century craziness whereby Dutch people, especially here in Amsterdam, decided that tulips were more valuable than houses. And, they sent the price of tulips to the moon. And then all of a sudden, one day, everybody sort of like woke up out of this fever dream. And they realized that tulips are just pretty flowers, but they are not worth a house. And all of a sudden, the price of tulips collapsed. And people who had a bunch of tulips, they're suddenly broke, okay? Bitcoin is the same thing. It's tulip mania, okay? It doesn't mean anything. And here's the thing, see? You don't need Bitcoin for anything. And the other thing is that, see, all the other cryptocurrencies are just as good as Bitcoin, see? I mean, there are a bunch of them, right? What is the difference between them? None whatsoever. The only difference is marketing, i.e. the difference between, say, Pepsi and Royal Crown Cola and Coca-Cola. Marketing. There's no intrinsic difference between them, okay? They might be a little bit different. They might taste a little different, like RC Cola and Pepsi Cola and Coca-Cola taste, right? But it's basically the same fucking thing. And here's a key issue. See, anybody with a few $100,000, which is chump change, can go and set up their own cryptocurrency. So it's a marketing scam, okay? It's a scam. And, well, this crisis is showing it. What's Bitcoin at now? Like 4,000 or something? And falling like a rock? Yeah, Bitcoin is bullshit, okay? Question. Do you see all hell breaking loose when most jobs and resources go away? Gun sales have gone up considerably. LR asking this. Yeah, that's a good one. See, yeah, in the States, yeah, people are going to buy more guns, and justifiably so for the reasons I explained before, because of the lawlessness and the desperation. And by the way, you know, the lawlessness I have no patience for. Fucking lawless, fuck them, right? I mean, I'm talking criminal class. But the people who are desperate, okay, I have nothing but compassion for them. I will certainly, you know, think them wrong to be stealing from others. But there's one thing to recognize, one thing to say that it's wrong to do so, but at the same time, you can recognize the desperation and the humanity in something. It's not excusing it, but it's understanding it. I feel nothing but compassion for those people who are so desperate. Yeah. Let me see. More questions I'm looking up here. Why do you think Germany has such a much lower death rate than Italy? Well, Daharo asked this. Well, because it hasn't had a chance to spread through Germany yet. And also, for the reasons I mentioned earlier in the stream, that there are all these Chinese people. Did I mention this? I think I did. That there are all these Chinese people in northern Italy. Yeah, I did. I mentioned the direct flights from Wuhan to Torino and the Wuhan to Milan. Yeah, Germany is going to catch up. Don't worry. You know, 29,000 to 20,000 in less than a month. Well, Michael, you don't say it's $29,000 for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. It's just 29,000 points, okay, to 20,000. Yeah. Yeah. Question: is it a good time to invest into cryptos? I explained. No, never. Question: how do I stay up to date with what's really going on with the whole MSM crap? Okay. This is something else I had here in my notes I have to talk about. The mainstream media, it's very clear to me, is making a concerted effort to both scare the shit out of people insofar as coronavirus and keep them docile and at home and quarantined, self-quarantined, right? At the same time, it's not telling the truth about what's going on, okay? I have this PDF. I can't fucking show it on this stream, okay, because I don't know how to operate OBS properly, right? But it's the New York Times website on Tuesday. On Monday, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 3,000 points. It fell percentage-wise 12.93%. Percentage-wise, it was the second greatest drop in history, eclipsing Black Tuesday of 1929. In terms of actual points lost, it was the greatest by far, okay? The New York Times did not have a headline about it. I was stunned when I saw it. I was genuinely shocked. What does that tell you? They are suppressing news. They are suppressing news. They want to keep things on the down low. You're going to notice something else. You've noticed that there are some people, high-profile people, who are suddenly like disappearing from the scene. Like Bill Gates. You know, all of a sudden last week, he resigned from Berkshire Hathaway board of directors and the Microsoft board of directors. Usually a move like that, you know, it'll be announced 6 months before it happens, okay? These moves are like fucking like moving glaciers, right? But all of a sudden, just like that, he dropped out of two of the biggest board of directors in U.S. corporate, you know, yeah, it's the big leagues here, right? He dropped out. What the fuck you think happened? That guy's he's gone underground. He's probably in some bunker somewhere. Yeah, figuring that he's going to ride this out. That fucker is gone. Bob Iger, yeah, the former head of Disney, yeah, he saw what was coming. He saw the signs. We all did. Yeah. Yeah, you're going to see more people dropping out. Look around. Notice people who are suddenly like missing. I think Bill Gates made a huge mistake in being so public about it. He could have disappeared like more quietly, but you're going to see a lot of people that are gone, gone. They're in some bunker somewhere or something like that. Okay. If the dust settles, Social Moravec says, if the dust settles from this pandemic, do you believe world leaders will have serious questions for the Chinese Communist Party and their cover-up when virus broke in December? Fuck yeah. The Chinese are going to get in the ass. Oh, yeah. It's already happening. This is true, what I'm about to tell you. This afternoon, I did some things and whatnot, and I came back to my house here in Amsterdam, and I'm walking along and limping along because I broke my ankle. It's healing properly, but I'm still limping. I don't have the brace anymore, but I'm limping. But anyway, it'll straighten out. I don't know why I'm mentioning this. It's stupid. Anyway, I'm passing by, and there's this store that's closed that sells. It's one of these weird stores that sells like foreign goods, but foreign comfort food. Okay, stuff from the UK and stuff from the United States. Like they sell cream of wheat. They sell like ding dongs. They sell shit that is like comfort food for people from the States and from England, right? And this Brit guy was walking along, and he looked kind of homeless. I didn't realize he was Brit. He looked like a homeless guy. And he's passing me by, and I looked at him like, who the fuck is this guy? He looks kind of shady. And he was going to the store, and he gets to it, and he realizes it's closed. Now, it's fucking 4 p.m. in Amsterdam on a Wednesday, on a non-holiday day. Wednesday, 4 p.m., this fucking store is closed, right? Because everything is fucking closed. Because everybody's in quarantining and shit, right? And this guy, you know what he says? He says, fucking Chinese, these fucking Chinese. And that's when I realized he was Brit because of the accent. And he just kept on walking, right? A lot of people are going to hate the Chinese for this shit. And a lot of people have come to the conclusion that I have, that it was some sort of bioweapon or some shit like that, okay? Yeah, they're not going to forgive him. And also, I think that the amount of repression that's going on in China is off the charts, okay? For reasons I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, that they're kicking out people, kicking out news people, right? If things are so hunky-dory in fucking China, why would they kick out news people? But if they have shit that they want to hide, fucking A, they'd kick them out. You see what I'm saying? The amount of deaths that they have in that country. Look, like I'm telling you, man, when I remember when SARS or whatever, or MERS, or the previous flu-like things, right, back in the day, when they happened, the Chinese government didn't give a flying fuck. They could not care less. They were basically saying, go to fucking work, you scumbag, and work until you're dead. But in this shit, they shut down huge, huge sectors of their economy. I mean, they reported at one time, adding up all the cities that they had on lockdown, 800 fucking million people. 800 million people, right? You don't do something like that unless you're scared shitless. And you only get scared shitless when you know what the fuck you're dealing with. When you know that whatever it is you're dealing with is fucking scary, that's when you get scared shitless, of course, right? Because with MERS and SARS, they didn't give a shit. And they were serious illnesses, but they didn't give a fuck. They weren't scared of it. Probably because they were ignorant of it. But this shit, they were scared of it. So they know what it is. So either somehow they managed to study it real careful, or they manufactured it themselves and it got away from them. See what I'm saying? That's why. The British pound is bleeding hard against the euro, says Gabriel. Yeah, the Brits are fucking morons. I mean, Dominic Cummings is a smart customer, but Boris Johnson, man, he's an improviser and he's fucking it up. He's got to get his shit together. I haven't been following that closely because, like I said, I've been neck deep in bitching and moaning with people. But yeah, once that whole thing is settled down, I'll look at Great Britain more closely. But yeah. Question, is there any sign for world war because desperation for a vaccine? No. Forget about a war. The war ain't going to happen. Okay? People are going to hunker down. Okay? People are too shell-shocked. No way are they going to go for a war right now. There's no point. The only possible war is the fucking Turks sending hordes of refugees to Europe. And I think what's going to happen is that they're going to start shooting those refugees. And I think also a lot of those refugees, they're going to catch this shit and they're going to start croaking like flies. I mean, it's going to be a fucking shit show. The refugees, the Middle East, all those Syrians that are in camps and whatnot because they were displaced because of the civil war, those poor people, they're not going to get any kind of goddamn medical assistance. So it's not just that the 20% who are going to get seriously ill, who are going to need medical attention, it's not just that they're going to die, but probably even more people are going to die in those camps because of violence, because of desperation. They're all enclosed in those camps. It's going to be a fucking nightmare. Coach, can you do a video about life tips and blueprints for teens? Well, that's basically what I do with all my videos, my man. But teenage, okay. This is what you do. Do your homework. Don't do too many drugs. Go to bed at a reasonable hour. You'll be fine. Okay? And read everything that you can. Read books. Okay? Read everything that interests you. This is serious advice, actually. Read books that interest you, not the ones that you're told should interest you. But here's a key issue. Don't fall for the trap of reading only one group of little books. Try to read different books, different things of interest. Maybe you like stamp collecting, and maybe you like the history of World War II, and maybe you like, the secret life of octopuses or some shit like that. I actually bought a book today, as a matter of fact, called Other Minds. It's called The Octopus and the Evolution of Intelligent Life by a guy called Peter Godfrey Smith. I saw it at the bookstore. I don't know a fucking thing about octopuses. I don't know if it's octopuses or octopi. Okay? Regardless. I bought the book on impulse because I don't know shit about octopuses, and I figured I'll learn about it. I'll read this book and find out what's what about it. See, do that. Expand your mind. If you come across something that you don't know, grab the book and read it. Question, may the virus be the answer to a lost phase 1 trade deal with the US? I don't know what that refers to. Oh, with the China thing, the phase 1 part? I don't know the specifics of the trade thing, so I don't really know. Released by accident, quote unquote, I think it was an accident. Never ascribe to malice what can be explained by incompetence. And the fact that it affected the Chinese first, why would you deliberately infect your own people? Somebody else, sure, but you wouldn't infect your own people. It was an accident. Do you recommend we all get guns? Well, I can't tell you what to do. But, if people are desperate and people are willing to steal shit and the police aren't going to protect you, what's the smart thing to do? You figure it out. You draw the inference. I can't tell you. I can lead you to water, but I can't make you drink. You know what I'm saying? Germany has better respirators than Italy. No, that's actually not true. Respirators are more or less the same everywhere, and it just hasn't hit Germany. Oh, and Seamus, you didn't hear what I said before. There are 100,000 Chinese in northern Italy, and they all come from Wuhan. Question, can you confirm IV too high? Now the easy money puts, relatively speaking, are gone. Oh, yeah, I know that. Thank you. Question, is there any sign for a... Oh, no, sorry. I read that one. Question, when should you start invest? Okay. Question, what about sex? Should we avoid it because of No, I mean, get laid as much as you want. I mean, if you're with some girl, right? If you're close enough to her to sweet talk her, you probably caught what she has or she caught what you have, okay? Fucking her is not going to change anything, okay? So just have a good time, okay? Look, I've gone on for 2 hours and 20 minutes, and my voice is shot, okay? So let's do a final round of questions, okay? And this is what I'm going to do. Hang on a second. I'm going to... Okay. You guys see that? I basically posted a hangout, okay? Now, you are welcome to join it, okay? And if you show up, I don't have any way to mute you or kick you, okay? So everybody who joins it has to be polite, and you have to be polite and respectful and silent, and everybody will get to have a question, and mute yourself so that there's an echo. we'll get to have Okay. Okay, great. So, let me see. Do you have a question? Go. Who has a question? Or comment? Hello? Hello? Mattis, are you there? Turn on your microphone.
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, Mattis, how's it going? How can I help you?
My microphone is on. Now you're hearing me.
Yeah, I hear you fine. Go ahead.
Uh, yeah, what skills should we have to handle this situation?
Well, I don't know. Okay, because what's going on is that, see, we have to see how this all plays out. Okay, and right now it's not obvious what specific skill would be useful in the future, and so you just have to be aware that you have to be adapting. And uh, uh, somebody, other people, can you mute yourselves because I'm hearing like a tremendous echo. Yeah, you all have to, excuse me, you have to be adaptive. Okay, this is a time to be adaptive and not be locked into like what you think is going on because things are moving too swiftly and too unpredictably. And so you just have to be very adaptive. Not think to yourself, oh, I have to focus on this skill or that skill or pursue this thing or that thing because nobody knows right now because nobody really, this is totally uncharted territory, so anything can happen. I wish I could give like a uh, um, more specific advice. It sounds wishy-washy what I'm saying. I don't like telling you this, but it's the truth. Unfortunately, at this time there is no clear path forward. It's not obvious where we're going, so we just have to be open to whatever. I hope this answers your question, Mattis. Okay, let's see. Pedro, go ahead, Pedro. Hello? Okay, next person then. Anybody who has a question, go ahead. Ah, Lucas T says, as a business and, oops, where'd he go? Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Show messages. Lucas T says, as a business and digital business student who is about to graduate, is this the right time to look for a work internship or opt for a master's degree? Well, if it's a digital business, you can do it from home. So look for a job, right? Everybody's going to be working from home. So an online business is ideal. LR says, best country to live in now. Again, don't make big changes when you don't know what's going to happen. Right now, it's not clear which is the best country to live in. I mean, because we don't know. Okay, so you have to wait and see. And I know that that's very frustrating, but you have to be paying attention to things because, for instance, a few months ago, like say back in December, I would have said, yeah, you want to be working in a country that's cheap but livable. Okay, and there are lots of cheap but livable countries in Eastern Europe, like the Czech Republic or Slovakia or something, or perhaps Hungary. Hungary is great. I was in Budapest. I loved it. Right. You can find a very, very nice apartment for $1,000 a month in downtown Budapest, right? And it's a beautiful city, right? Uh, that's what I would have said back in December. But now, no, because who knows what's going to happen in Hungary? Who knows what's going to happen in the country you're living in now? So you have to sort of keep your options open. You got to see how things decant, how they settle. Yeah, yeah. Uh, Now, Harrow says, how stable are jobs that are funded by the government, such as research assistant at a university? I have no idea. Oh, wait. Let me repeat that. How stable are jobs that are funded by the government, such as research assistant at a university? That would be pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, probably government jobs right now are going to be the most stable. Okay. And you're going to get paid whether you have to work or not. Because a lot of people are not going to be working because of the coronavirus and they're going to be sent home. But you're still going to get paid. In private businesses, this is not the case. Okay, let's see. Who else has a question? If you have a question, Just ask the question. Go ahead, Jane, or whomever. Christopher?
Yes. Hi, Coach.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going all right. If you remember me, we chatted about 2 months ago about my plans of going to the Congo in Africa.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's me. And actually, I was supposed to fly out yesterday evening. Yeah, I got my visa and I got everything set up, but I didn't go for obvious reasons. And actually, here in Canada, I'm thinking of my parents because they're freaking out. I have a question about the future of the international political system. Will this change the U.S. hegemony? Will this impact the relations between India and China? I mean, what is the kind of the macro level changes do you foresee?
It's too soon. Simple as that. And I know it's very unsatisfying. Oh, they're saying raise the volume. Okay. And and no, Christopher, can you do me a favor? Can you mute yourself because I get echo? Thank you. Insofar as the how things are going to play out, which nation is going to wind up on top, again, anything can happen because the situation is too fluid. I always think of life as think of life in the following way: that you are a train on a set of tracks. Okay. Now, when you're on the tracks, can you change? No, you can't. You can only go forward. All right. You can't change if the track goes west, for instance. You can't decide, oh, I'm going to go north. You can't. You just keep on going. But periodically, you get to a train station. Sometimes those train stations have just a couple of other options in terms of like changing tracks. Sometimes it's like a big train station and you can go anywhere. But periodically, you come to these stations. Most of the time, most of your time is spent going from one train station to the next, i.e., one moment of decision to the next moment of decision. And you spend weeks, months, years, maybe even decades without changing, right? Well, that same happens with countries, only on a larger time scale, right? Things happen, there's a lot of drama, this, that, the other, but real change happens very rarely. Now we are at a major train station. We are faced with huge changes. And because of it, and because we cannot control these changes, we will be affected by them, but we can't control them. We have to just keep our eyes wide open and not fall for the trap of insisting that things have to go one way or another, okay? You can speculate endlessly as to what will happen, but you're only going to know until it actually does happen. You see what I'm saying? And it's out of your control. That's why it's so important to, like I said at the beginning of this conversation, be fatalistic and understand what you cannot control and what you can control. How each country is going to turn out, which would be the countries to go to, we don't know. We won't know for months and perhaps not years, perhaps even decades in some cases. Because it could be that this crisis is the end of America in 2 or 3 years. Or it could be that this crisis turns the whole ship of the United States around and becomes a completely different country. We don't know. We're too close to it. We're in the middle of it. Not even the middle of it. We're at the beginning of it. We're just arriving at the train station. Okay? We've only just now realized that we are arriving at a train station, and we're all shocked by it. Where this train is going to go could be anywhere. So just keep your eyes open, your mouth shut, and don't fall for the trap of being convinced by a preconceived notion. Judge the facts, not what anybody's saying. Yeah, I hope that this has answered your question, Christopher.
It has answered my question. The big changes are on the way. But if I can take your metaphor of training a bit further, because I've been a fan for a number of years.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We have been critical of the train that we were on.
Yeah.
Feminism, SJWs, all sorts of things. It's bad for us guys. So could this be an opportunity for things to get better? I mean, will guys be more valuable now when the shit hits the fan and practical, rational thinking is needed rather than this feelings and stuff. I mean, is this a potential big turn for the social
It
system?
it could be. It could be, but we're not going to know. Again, we're not going to go for a while. It could be that, for instance, hypothetically, say crime spikes. I mean, really spikes between desperation and opportunism, right? And there's a lot more violent crime, a lot more rape, a lot more just violent personal crime. Okay, then yeah, then it could turn around, and a lot of SJW shit can go out the window. It could be, or maybe they double down. Again, it's too early to tell, and what we are living now is just too unpredictable, and so we just have to keep our eyes open. And I insist, I know how unsatisfying that is, because it's unsatisfying for me, because I would like to be able to think of like a clear direction of where things are going. But I'd be making shit up and lying, okay? Right now, it's impossible to tell. And I know how unsatisfying that is, but that's the reality.
I mean, on the other hand, it's actually quite exciting.
Yeah.
Things are
Fuck
changing.
yeah.
And I'm being, relatively good shape and healthy and educated. I mean, there could be opportunities in chaos. So I'm actually personally frustrated but very optimistic about the future. I mean, this could lead to some good changes.
Well, change is always good. And the thing is, see, change and shocks to the system always energize you. When all of a sudden things change and everything that you had thought of is just out the window, and all your plans and all your schemes and everything is just kaput, but you just have to make it up as you go along. It's scary. It's frustrating. You're worried all the time, but at the same time, you feel more alive than ever before. This has happened to me in every case where I've had enormous uncertainty. I often has not look back very fondly on those periods of time in my life, because I felt most alive. And I think that one of the important things of this is that, see, in this chaos, you have to embrace it and recognize that this chaotic environment is a good thing for you if you accept it. If you accept it and try not to bend it to your will, but just try to uh, achieve keep your priorities in perspective and achieve those priorities, yet always be flexible and adaptive to the changing situation. Because these are changes that are unprecedented in our civilization's history. Okay, this kind of pandemic, in a very real sense, has not happened since the Middle Ages, since the Black Death. Okay, this is world historical. People are decades from now, they're going to be talking about these periods these days that we're living in today. Okay, and you have to understand this: what you are living through today, what we are living through today. This is world historical. This is stuff that it's going to be textbooks. There are going to be movies about this shit. Okay, yeah. Chaos is a ladder. Kian Kurji says this in the chat. Fucking A. Chaos is a ladder. Yeah. Okay. Next question in the hangout. Hello. There's a guy called Touch. Yeah. Hi, Touch. I can't see the rest of your name.
Oh, I'm Michael. I don't know why he keeps changing that.
Yeah. Well, what's up? What's on your mind?
All right. First, I just want to say thank you for all the information so far and everything like that.
Hey, my pleasure.
My question is social. You said something about social. How because it's gonna sound weird, but back in the day, the whole reason why Hitler got the power back after World War I is because he raised morale for Germany, got their economy going, became a celebrity, and all that sort of stuff. But I don't want to use power or the purpose for that. What I was wondering is how do you use it, or how do you create an influence on people so people can band together, not just have a dictatorship, but more diplomatic.
Like a cooperative kind of thing.
Yes.
Well, see, you can't really do it much with a nation. A nation is just too many people. You can do it with a small group of people. Yeah, okay? like a little partnership, a little business. Okay,
All right.
because we human beings, right? You got to think in terms of evolution. We evolved in tribes, small tribes. Sometimes between 6 people and maybe 30, maybe 50, maybe on the outside, and that's how we evolved because we're primates. I mean, never forget that we are primates, whether we like it or not, and we evolved that way, just like primates do. They go around in their little groups and they go from place to place and they have their fights and they squabbles internally and whatnot. But we only have a fixed number of people in our head. See, there's like some management theory stuff that says uh, that they've done studies and whatnot, and people can only handle 150 relationships in their head. Okay, they might know the names of hundreds of people, right? But at any one given time, people have maximum 150 relationships. Now, these are 150 relationships of all kinds. I mean, it's not just your spouse. It's also like, say, the doorman at your building, or the guy who sells you a bagel at the corner shop or whatever, or your parents or whatever. But see, all the people that you interact with, at most a person can keep track of 150 relationships. And that seems to be like the maximum number. And we don't have the brain power for more. Once it becomes more, it just becomes amorphous, it becomes anonymous, it becomes nothing. Okay, so if you want to have a group of like-minded people, you have to have it small. Keep it at 150 or less, and then you can actually achieve something like in a way that is moral and um, beneficial to all. But if it's larger, if it's like a nation, then inherently it's going to be, practically by definition, it'll have to be a little bit crooked. You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, it's kind of like because I work at Walmart and they say they have 2.3 million employees and they're doing all sorts of weird stuff. That's not or that's not going to do what I want it to do. So really, what I'd have to do is reduce it, or even 150. I think that's being generous right there. I think
Yeah.
really, I mean, really, the close friendships, like no people that you're intimate with, not sexually or anything. Well,
Yeah.
you can be, but maybe 10 people at most.
Yeah. 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 But you see, it's a limited number. Okay. Uh,
All right.
yeah. That's the point. And so it has to be a limited group. That's how you do it.
And so having something like a YouTube channel with millions of subscribers or a network reach, that isn't going to do necessarily what you want it to do.
No. No. Uh, Thanks so much, Touch, for being on.
All right, thank you.
I have to ask you guys that you've been on if you can drop out so that others can join. But thank you so much, Touch. Who else wants to ask something? Oh, everybody's dropping out and nobody's asked me anything.
No. I would like to ask you something.
Shoot, go ahead. How's it going? Avi?
Hello?
Who's this?
Yeah, doing good. Yeah, Abby.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going, Avi?
I'm your subscriber for a very long time. I'm actually living in Dnipro, which is 2 hours away from you.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know. Dnipropetrovsk. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it was called like that like some years ago. Now it's called Dnipro.
Okay, hang on a second. Hang on a second. Somebody has to mute themselves because, and I can't mute you because I'm hearing all kinds of garble stuff. If you're not talking, please mute yourself.
I guess Seamus and King has to mute himself. Okay, much better.
Okay.
So
Okay.
basically, I'm a Russian
Mm-hmm.
currently living in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I was living before in Canada and U.S. So, and one of a sudden, I decided to move my business to Ukraine since it's very cheap
Yeah.
labor force and it's a practical reason.
Yeah.
And it was before the revolution. So, moving to Ukraine, I made that like some years before you were actually advised to move to Ukraine or Eastern Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So, have a lot of things to discuss actually. And is there any option or any possibility to meet you in Kharkiv?
Yeah, but I have to get to Kharkov, and that's going to be a while, because
Okay.
I was supposed to come here just for a few days, and I arrived here on Friday to Amsterdam, right? And
Okay.
I was supposed to leave today, as a matter of fact, but my flight
Okay.
got canceled, and
Exactly. Because like you cannot enter the country, as far as I know.
yeah, no, no. I mean, what happened on Friday was that the airline canceled the flight. And then
Oh,
subsequent to that, the country canceled all flights, and so yeah, I'm stuck.
exactly.
Yeah, I'm stuck here,
All,
and I'm
all the
not.
foreigners are prohibited to enter the country,
Yeah.
including me. Actually, I'm stuck in Brazil right now.
Oh, you're in Brazil now. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's good. It's good. So far, so good. Sun, beach, 30 degrees
yeah,
Celsius.
yeah, yeah. How's the coronavirus being treated over there?
Yeah, actually, it's very interesting to watch how Italy went down. All the Europe went down,
Mm,
and local fox like walking like nothing happens. And
mm.
only few days ago, they said that in our town about 9 cases. So and everyone started nursing, and not too much. Like everything's so like tranquilo.
Yeah,
As they
tranquilo.
say.
That's the word in Brazil. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
look, listen about meeting up in Ukraine. I don't whenever I get back, I'll do a meetup in Ukraine. I've been meaning to, but I just haven't gotten around to it. I've been meaning to this summer to ride around Ukraine on my motorcycle, but I don't think that that's going to happen. Now I'm just trying to figure out how can I put this. See, just keeping my eyes open,
Okay.
just trying to understand how things are going to play out, because, like I said, man, there's nothing that you can do. So you just have to be paying attention and to see where things break. Okay. In my own case, there is nothing I can do to change my situation that will improve my
Right.
situation. Okay.
Right.
Everything I could do to improve my situation, I have already done so. And
Okay.
so, my thinking is just wait to see what happens and be open to any opportunity. But
Hey,
yeah,
can I ask you something?
shoot.
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah.
No.
Actually, I was working for a hedge fund some years ago, for a
Mm-hmm.
Jewish hedge fund in New York. So, and what I noticed that in Ukraine there is a lack of those hedge funds. There is only one so-called government-related hedge fund who has a lot of troubles before. It's called Dragon Capital,
Yeah.
and there is nothing else. So, as far as I know, the Chinese are considering Ukraine as a good investment since it's very cheap everything, like
Yeah.
property, factories, all the assets are cheap, and they need a middleman. And
Be
I
that.
also, yeah, and I also have certain ideas about prop trading since I have the guys in New York who can like uh, give some so-called buying power or equities to speculate.
Uh huh.
Like, and Ukraine has really cheap offices, and I have equipment, furniture, and we can do something like open a prop trading office or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, here's something else. I'm looking at my notes and I realize I did not touch on this topic. So let me go on a little bit of a rant or a little bit of a discussion about the issue of cheap property, which is what you brought up, which reminded me of this issue. Okay.
Exactly.
See, guys, this is something else that I failed to mention. But see, um, because of the stock market crash that has happened and is going to continue to happen. Okay, can you guys mute up, please? Thank you. Thank you so much.
Visible to me.
Yes. Um, because of the stock market crash and the bond crash, okay, and all this nightmare that's coming up, right? That is coming up and has already happened and whatnot. Um, Asset prices were inflated for the reasons I explained before. The interest rates were too low, the price of money was too low, and therefore there was an over indebtedness and a malinvestment, and things were bought up in price. Okay, now so we had asset price inflation. Now we're going to have now asset deflation. Now, why does this happen? Because you see, people need to sell stuff because they need the cash. And as they sell stuff, what happens is that they want 100 for it, right? And they offer it for 100, and nobody's willing to pay 100. And so they offer it for 90, and then 80, and then 70, and 60, and 50, and 40. Eventually, they will find a buyer, eventually. But sometimes, if too many people are selling something at the same time, or similar things at the same time, then that thing that was valued at 100, and maybe the actual value is 80, for instance, well, it'll sell not for 80, but for 40 or 30 or 20 or 10 or even less. That is going to be happening. Asset deflation. You're going to see property prices, stocks, every asset class, except perhaps commodities, but commodities might follow along, where they're going to be cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And what will happen is that you will go into a deflationary spiral, which is what happened during the last Great Depression. And you see, the central banks today and the economists today think that they're very, very clever and that they can avoid a deflationary spiral. But you see, what's been going on, and one of the lessons that we're learning here is that with all this money that the Federal Reserve is putting out there, swap lines, quantitative easing, whatnot, asset prices are still going down. Deflation is still happening. So it is becoming more and more clear that that what was theoretically possible might not be practically possible. It reminds me of Joe Rogan, the podcaster. He once did a show where he talked about MMA and jiu-jitsu and some other martial arts, and he said that before MMA, a lot of people thought that you could do this and you could do that and it would be effective in a fight, in combat, right? But once MMA actually started to happen and people started to apply it and realize that in real combat, a lot of the theory just did not work, it changed everybody radically, okay? A similar thing is happening in economics. A lot of people think that just throwing money at a problem and keeping interest rates low is how you fix a deflationary spiral, and just throwing money, helicopter money even. But it's proving not to be the case. And so the point of all this little tangent here is that, see, if you want to buy an asset like a house or an apartment or whatever, wait, because prices are going to start to go down, really go down, okay? And a house that today costs, $250,000, it could very well be, and this is going to sound insane, but in a year's time, that very same house might sell for $40,000. And that sounds insane, but that is very, very possible. Very possible because the owners want to sell it, and at the same time, there are no banks to put out a mortgage loan. And so you'd have to buy it cash, but if you have the cash, you can buy it. You see what I'm saying? That will likely happen. Okay, I could be very wrong, so don't take my word as gospel. Just keep your eyes open, okay? But assets are going to continue to go down, and some of those assets are going to be intrinsically valuable. Like a house is intrinsically valuable, okay? A stock, which is an asset, it may be intrinsically valuable, maybe not. It depends on the company. It depends on a whole host of factors. Ditto with a bond. Ditto even with a commodity, right? But like a real estate, people need to live in a house. It could be that it just deflates and you can buy it for a song and it'll recover later. So you got to keep in mind that those are the possibilities. Okay, sorry. Next person, who wants to ask another question? Yeah, there's a new guy here, Booyah. Go ahead, Booyah. Hello, Booyah. I don't.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, you speak up. Can you speak up, please?
Yes, the first one is yes. So did you hear me?
Yes, but you have to speak up. I can barely hear you.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. So how do you think this crash will revamp the economy? And do you think we will start creating a lot more factories in the Western democracies after this crash, since investing in China is a lot more risky now? What do you think?
Well, it's going to depend on the following factor. See, if the how can I put this? A factory, when do you build a factory? When you have a demand, okay? I manufacture widgets, right? Why am I going to open a factory? Well, because a lot of people want to buy my widget, and so I need to open a factory to produce these widgets, right? And that's
Yeah.
why the manufacturing grows, because I build the factory because there's this demand. But see, if nobody's working and everybody's broke, nobody's working because of coronavirus, so therefore they don't have any income. They're not going to be buying stuff now, are they? They're not going to be buying
No.
widgets. They're only going to be buying essentials. Food. They're going to be buying food, but they're not going to be buying like my widget, my trivial little widget, whatsoever it may be. You see?
Okay.
And so
I was thinking more about like after, after this whole thing passes.
yeah, that's the problem also. How long will it last? We don't know. If they flatten this curve, because like the numbers I was postulating at the beginning of this conversation was that by roughly mid June, the entire world will have been infected. Okay, by mid June would be the target date. But if they succeed in flattening that curve and they stretch it out, mid June is 3 months away, right? Almost exactly 3 months away. If they stretch it from 90 days to say 270 days, that is 9 months, then the effects of this will be longer and longer, you see? So we're not going to know. We're not going to know. Again, we just arrived at the station. We don't know where we're going yet. So we just have to keep an open mind. What you're postulating that, that a lot of factories might come back to the United States or the Western democracies. Yeah, sure, that could happen. Or another possibility is because of the lack of demand, because people can't work, because they are stuck at home for 9 months, which is crazy, but possible, right? They're stuck at home for so long that they have no income, and therefore no factory gets built, and the factory in China closes down, and all of a sudden the factories are gone. We could see a contraction in the economy, okay? And not by a little bit, by a lot. A contraction in the ability to produce stuff. I'm not talking about contraction of GDP. I'm talking about contraction in demand, permanent contraction, okay? Which has happened before in history. It hasn't happened recently. It hasn't happened since the end of the Second World War, but it has happened, okay? We're going into bad lands here. This is depression territory, okay? So yeah. Thanks for the question.
Well, thank you for your answer, and thank you for all your help for those years. Yeah, your Patreon is very worth it. I don't know why some people are so poor they don't want to pay for it. I mean, you have really valuable content.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate you saying that. I'm so thankful for you saying that. Really, really sincerely, because like I said at the very beginning of this stream, see, I feel that the Patreon videos, I have to give you guys your money's worth. Okay, I have to give you guys something that is worth your $5. And some of you might be able to say, well, $5 is no big deal, but it's the principle of the thing, I gotta deliver, and if I'm not delivering, then yeah. And I see a lot of other content creators who do have Patreon, and they sort of like deliver sometimes and not others, and I started falling into that bad habit in January and February of 2019, right? A little over a year ago. And I was lucky enough to sort of like recover because, see, I figure, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this right. And I've been I mean, since then, since February of 2019, I've been very consistent every week, no matter what, And sometimes it's actually been kind of difficult because things have popped up, and I had a huge business project in August, September, and October, and part of November. And even so, I stuck with it, and I'm really glad I did because, well, of course, the money doesn't hurt, of course, but it's just giving me a sense of satisfaction. And like I said, knowing that I'm giving you guys your money's worth, that matters to me very much. So yeah, so thank you for what you've said. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks again, and I think I'll I'll let the other people talk.
Okay, take it easy, man.
Have a good one.
You too. And who else? Who else wants to say something? Go ahead.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Great. Hey, coach. Thank you very much for everything that you did for the past, it's been like a year and a half. I've been listening to you, and no joke, it's been super, super, super useful. And so, thank you very much. So here we go. I was kind of worried, not worried, but asking myself the question that you know how the market has responded the last few weeks, matter of fact. My question to you, and of course, this will stand just as an opinion, just like everybody has an opinion, of course. Um, every day we feel like sometimes it might be the bottom, another one might be the top. Maybe one day we're gonna start to think on when should we enter for the future, and maybe quote unquote try to buy the dip. Do you think there is still room to go, and do you think we will keep getting those minus 10% days in the S&P and those minus 1,000 drops in the Dow or such? What do you think?
I think that we're going to continue to see like market uncertainty, and so why try to be clever when the cost can be tremendous? Like I said
True.
before, why stick your dick in a hole if you don't know what's in the hole?
Yeah.
I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, why expose yourself for no reason? Or let me phrase it: it's not that there's no reason. Is the that saying, is the juice worth the squeeze? Yeah, you don't
No,
know
that's
what's
not
going to
true.
happen. You just don't know what's going to happen. And so when you don't know what's going to happen, you stop and you pay attention and you don't do shit. Okay? You
Mm,
don't put yourself in a position of danger. Mm? It's
okay.
fine. It's fine um, to have your strategy, to have your outlook, but especially look, a strategy only works when your environment is relatively stable. And right now, as of the last 2 weeks, especially the last week, the last few days, right? Our environment is completely fluid. Okay? What we thought was a rock now is just an ocean. We're just moving along. There's no stability. So when there's no stability, you can't make any plans. You can't create any kind of strategy other than the most obvious, like don't get killed. That's all you can do. So don't try to be clever. Okay, there are so many people who try to be clever and they always get fucked over. Always, no exception. And I know that because back in the day, I tried to be clever lots of times, and it always blew up in my face. Don't make my mistake. Be smart. Be smart. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you a lot. That's really, I really appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you so much for being on.
Yep. No worries. Good luck.
Thanks. Oh, look on the message side, there are a couple of people who asked some questions. So, um, let me read this really quick. A good time to refinance now or wait? You could probably wait and get even a better deal. A pandemic brought to Europe through Italy as a result of trade with the East. I haven't seen that before. Yeah. This would be a great opportunity to make people adapt to the solidarity behavior of wearing a mask whenever we are sick, just like people in most Asian countries do. Yeah, yeah, that is. I hadn't realized it at the time, to tell you the truth. It's only now that or recently, that I understood that when people wore masks, before I thought that they were just paranoid that they'd get some disease. And it's only now, like I said, in the last couple of months, that I realized that, or I've understood rather, that Asians do it out of politeness to others. I think that that's a very healthy attitude. Um, good time to refinance. Do you know the story of patient O in Italy? I can contribute to the people who want to know more. I'm Italian. Um, yeah. Is it going to affect whatever privacy and rights we have left? This, uh, again, too early to tell. Too early to tell. Yeah, too early to tell. Okay, so next question. Anybody else has a question here on the chat? In the excuse
Hey,
me, in the
hey,
hangout.
coach. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going? Who's this?
I'm doing pretty good, thank you. This is King Platinum Ice,
King
but my name
Platinum.
is Miguel.
Okay, hey, how's it going? Are you
Yeah.
L?
Uh, no, not or I'm the one with the picture of the palm tree.
Oh, okay,
King
yeah,
Platinum
you got
Ice.
it. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what's up, Miguel?
No, so I guess I mean just kind of hearing after everything you covered. So I guess it's kind of it's safe to assume that this entire roller coaster ride that we're riding on. There's no kind of given direction. It's just full of uncertainty
Yeah,
in a way.
yeah, yeah. You just have to roll with
And
it.
like we really don't know anything. Nobody really knows much of anything.
No,
Pretty
nobody knows
much.
shit. Yeah. I mean, nobody knows anything. Okay, except me. Yeah, I know everything. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
except
teasing.
but
I'm totally fucking with you, but I'll tell you. Look, anybody who says that they're certain that this is going to happen or that's going to happen, they're lying. Okay. And by the way, when you are really, really sure that something's going to happen, you make a bet on it. Put up or shut up. Okay.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, and I think at that point it's more kind of intuition.
yeah, and a
Where
lot
you
of
kind
times you
of
got to
get
keep in mind too that a lot of people they want to raise themselves up and aggrandize
yeah,
themselves and say, "Oh, look at me, I'm so cool" or whatever. And so they say a lot of shit. But the wise approach is a humble approach. Okay?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it kind of sucks because I had a trip uh for I was gonna go backpacking to Colombia for a month in the
Yeah.
summer,
Well, I'm pissed
and
off
I'm
because
like,
like yeah, I wanted to be yeah, I want to be with my kids now, and I can't. I was
yeah,
supposed to
yeah,
travel
yeah.
now. And this travel ban, it really caught me flat-footed. I didn't think that they were going to shut down the whole thing that severely or quickly.
Everything's on lockdown. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they announced it like because I've been checking like on the websites and stuff. So like 2 days ago, they announced travel restrictions too.
Yeah.
Because like here, I live here in Chicago
Hmm.
in the U.S. But I mean, they haven't. It's pretty much they haven't really. Besides the whole European travel ban,
Mm.
um, they haven't really have set much restrictions.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's pretty interesting hearing what you had to say about like theory too, where it's kind of like it's not really worth much of anything without the practicality of implementing it. You know,
Hmm. Oh, you're
and
talking about Bitcoin? Yeah. Bitcoin.
well, earlier where you were mentioning about like all the economists where they kind of have all these strategies where they kind of want to strategize and control the market and stuff, and
Well,
so I thought
because
that was pretty
the
interesting.
situation is too fluid. Look, the only guy who's worth a damn insofar as reading is concerned is Nassim Taleb. Okay, Nassim Nicholas Taleb. He's the guy who wrote Anti-Fragile. He also wrote Black Swan, and he wrote Skin in the Game. Those three books, definitely read them. They're the only ones that are worthwhile because like he's kind of like an asshole, kind of like a dick, but he's a
Yeah,
smart guy, and his ideas are very insightful. And he is of the opinion, the smart opinion, that you cannot control things. There are forces that are going on that they're moving, and you have to react to them in a way that's to your benefit. But understand that you are reacting to it. You cannot dictate to it. Okay, you got to be smart that way. Not allow your hubris, your arrogance, your blindness, your conceitedness, or your conceitedness to blind you rather. Okay, you gotta be humble and stuff, and also pay attention. Look at what's going on, and don't look just like at one thing. Look at all the things going on around you. Okay, you're walking through the jungle. Do you only look ahead? No, you look around you. You look above you, because some cheetah or puma or whatever is going to eat you could come out of anywhere. So you got to keep
yeah,
your eyes open in all directions and understand that the stress of it is not necessarily a bad thing. On the contrary.
yeah. It's understandable because a lot of people, I mean, they're fearful, they're panicking, but a lot of it has to do with like the media too. Just kind of a lot of people who read these articles on Facebook, they just kind of feed into it. But yeah, I mean, and I think I just have one last question.
Go
Because you
ahead.
mentioned like cheap countries to live in.
Uh-huh.
Any suggestions?
Well, right now I'd wait around and see how this all plays out because it could be that the States is the cheapest country. I'm not
Yeah.
kidding. I'm not kidding. Okay, so
Okay.
just sit tight. Okay, I insist. Don't do anything rash. Don't do anything out of emotion. Okay. Don't stick your dick in a hole unless you know what that hole actually is. Okay. I mean, you just have to. And I know that it's frustrating, especially when things are changing radically. There is the natural urge to do something, to quote unquote do something. You have to do something. Do something. Please do something. Well, no. Here, when things are moving this radically, the worst thing you can do is to quote unquote do something. What you have to do is watch, wait, take it easy, take a breath, step back, think things
Yeah.
through. Okay? I'm not saying just to you, I'm saying to everybody listening. Okay?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
You gotta just keep calm. And I know it's frustrating. I know it's like let everybody just wants to do something specific, but you gotta. You see what I'm saying? You gotta take it easy. You gotta because there's nothing worse than making an impulsive decision in a time of stress. Because more often than not, it's going to be the wrong decision, and the effects are going to be terrible. That happens more often than not.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Coach. I appreciate it, and love your videos.
Thanks. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
Take it easy, man.
Yeah, take it easy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, and if you see Jussie Smollett, say hi. Take it easy, man.
Easy, Coach.
There's a guy here in messages says the Mr. Krez. He says the anti-fragile thing is also an opinion. Let's say ? Like this whole Jensen inequality thing does not hold true. Let's talk about mathematical expectancy. Okay, that's a little snowy right now, so we'll leave it for later. Somebody popped up there. Who wants the next question?
I'm extremely sorry to interrupt. I asked a message. Well, do you remember me? I asked a question just before, and I'm actually the one who sent that question.
Oh yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, what's up?
Oh yeah, no, pretty cool. I mean, I haven't changed much since 5 minutes ago, I guess.
Yeah, I know, but
No, actually, matter of fact, I'm holding that book right now in my hands. It's actually quite unexpected. I read this book, and I'm a student, and I do math studies.
I can't hear you. Stay at a constant distance from your microphone because you keep fading in and out.
Oh, okay. I'll try my best.
Mhm.
So let's go for it. I read this book a year ago, so let's see how I remember all of this. It's very interesting. It's true. When he goes into the whole convexity, let's say discussion, you remember this maybe in the book, is very interesting. What he's saying in that book is that is for us as to profit out of a random stochastic process. It's basically you have to bet large, bet a lot, like a lot of money on some very, let's say, improbable events.
Mhm.
He's talking about I don't remember how he puts it, but I mean, going on those like Six Sigma events and just to try to bet it all. And although I see the point, and he justifies it in like nature's observations.
Mhm.
In like this whole, I remember his walking example. Like he walks on tarmac one day, he walks on like gravel
Okay.
another.
So here's the thing. There are a lot of other people who want to talk.
Right. Okay.
So you have to get to the point. What is it specifically that you want to say?
Well, essentially, I think it's an opinion more than anything because if profit is basically mathematically
Okay.
expected.
No, this is too snowy. Okay. It's going into a book that nobody else has read. Okay.
Right.
So
Right.
that's that. Yeah, we'll have to leave it here because there are other people who want to ask questions.
I understand.
I'm so sorry.
No worries.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much,
Okay.
though.
Take it easy, man.
Yep.
There's a guy called Nick who's joined, and Booyah. Yeah. What's up, guys?
Okay. Can you hear me? Good evening, Coach.
Yeah. Who's talking?
Nick, can you hear me?
Yeah, Nick. How's it going? What's up?
How are you doing today? All right?
Yeah, pretty good. It's been a long stream.
You're doing very good. Right. So I don't know if you can hear me clearly because I'm using my earbuds.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
All right, great. So I wanted to ask you, what's your opinion about the situation here in the UK? Because although the government in Europe they're taking more strict measures, while Johnson he seems more I won't say relaxed, but you
Relaxed.
know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay, I haven't been following the UK situation that closely because I've had my hands full with a couple of other things, personal things, and trying to arrange transportation and personal investments and a whole bunch of stuff. So I haven't been following it that closely. But what I do understand is that he's taking it a little bit too casually. Okay. Look, I don't think in the end it's going to really matter. Okay. I think, how can I put this? I understand the rationale of quote unquote flattening the curve. I think ultimately it's a waste of time. I could be completely wrong, but the data at this point seems to indicate that this thing doubles every 6 days, kind of relentlessly. And so it is unclear whether all these measures are actually going to make any difference. It's reasonable to try, and I understand what the leadership of like the US and a lot of European nations are thinking, but I actually question whether it's actually going to happen. Okay, that it'll actually have an effect, rather. Okay, at this time, I mean, it really just started. Okay, so maybe my problem is that I'm not giving this enough time. Maybe in a couple of weeks' time, we've stretched the doubling period from 6 days to 10 days, for instance. It could be that, which would be great. But yeah, the problem is, this is really fascinating. See, in order to save lives, you have to make the situation worse for a longer period of time. That's the basic calculus, right? And so that's why this could last for a couple of years. Now, the Brits, how they're handling the situation, I haven't seen the details of it. So I'm sort of like going by more or less what I've like perceived from the zeitgeist, but it seems as if as if Boris Johnson is taking it a little too lackadaisically. We'll see in the next few days if he gets more serious. Okay, so yeah.
Well, here things are really, really relaxed. Let's say that people are going to pubs and they're acting like nothing is going on.
I thought that they had closed the pubs.
Not really, at least not here in the northeast. But
I think in
basically Johnson
London then they did.
he advised that you should avoid any going to restaurants or bars or pubs or clubs.
Oh, okay. So yeah, he's taking it easy. Well,
yeah, exactly. That was my question. My not direct question. If you think there's something more suspicious there with his course of action.
suspicious? No.
No.
You see something else that I'm realizing too is that I was paying attention to this like I said, in mid to late January. Say I started paying attention to it around January 20th because I actually forgot or but I'm realizing at the time, and I did a tweet about this, I thought that the intelligence services in the West would have an eye on this thing. But now I'm realizing that they didn't. Or there must have been some functionary in some intelligence agency that did, but nobody in a position of leadership, nobody in a position that could actually make any kind of decision was really aware of this until the end of February at the earliest. I think that they all just ignored it. They didn't pay attention. It was weirdos like us that were paying attention to this coronavirus thing in Wuhan. And yeah, if we were able to, take advantage of that information and that insight, great. But I think that the Western leadership was not paying attention, and now they're just scrambling to catch up, And you can see that in Trump's attitude. Before, he was almost saying, it's just like the flu, bro. And now he's like saying, oh, it's a pandemic and we have to do all this kinds of stuff, I think that it just caught them all flat-footed and they don't know what to do. I again, never ascribe to malice what can be explained by incompetence. And yeah, that's my thinking about Boris Johnson and what's going on there.
All right. Thank you very much for getting into the subject.
Thank you so much for being on, and thank you so much for supporting me. I very much appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you for your information. Have a lovely evening.
You too. Hey, Seamus. How's it going?
Hey, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Nice to meet you finally. Put a face to the words. Yeah, what's up?
Great. I have a couple of questions. Well, the first one is economic. It's do you think the Fed will go negative interest rate to stem the strength of the dollar?
That's a good one. See, a negative interest rate. Well, in a practical sense, a ZERP is negative because a zero interest rate policy is negative because inflation eats away at the loan amount. Now, actual negative interest rates. Now, you can't do that by way of treasuries. I mean, it's theoretically impossible, right? Could they put like some sort of penalty on deposits? Well, the Dutch do that. The Europeans do that. Okay, they put penalties above. I think it's €500,000. Yeah, they penalize that, and it's actually fairly severe enough that it encourages people to invest in basically European bonds, which is what they want. I don't know if the U.S. government would do that. I don't see the utility of it necessarily. I think that they are no longer. I think that they've realized after Sunday's disaster that futzing around with interest rates does not really solve anything. Because for those of you who don't know, like last Sunday, I mentioned all the QE5 stuff and the swap lines. But the other big thing that they did was they cut the federal Fed funds rate by 100 basis points. 100 basis points is a full percentage points. A single basis point is 1% of 1%. Okay, so they cut it by a full 100 basis points, and so it effectively dropped to zero, ZERP, right?
Yeah.
And that went over like a Led Zeppelin, right? So
Well, who gives a shit about interest rates when there's no food on the table?
yeah, exactly. So I think that they're going to. I think that the only thing available to them is some sort of massive spending program. I think that people aren't really going to tolerate any kind of bailout of banks or bailout of airlines or Boeing or anything like that. I think that in short order, I mean, in the next 90 days, people are going to be like, fuck these companies. As people understand also that so much of the malinvestment was companies buying back their own shares in order to prop up the stock price so that they could get big bonuses. As people understand that reality, I think there's gonna be a whole like fuck these fucking capitalists. I think that the socialists are gonna get really goddamn big. I think that Bernie Sanders is not gonna go far because he doesn't have that killer instinct. He doesn't want to win. He's an old man, right? But some young firebrand lefty like fucking AOC, whom I despise, and I think she's an idiot, right? Yeah, those people, those like lefty morons, they're gonna. I thought that they were going to be phased out in this election, that they'd be blown the fuck out, and that'd be that. But you know something? People, when they're desperate, they try all kinds of crazy ass shit, and I think that it could be that we wind up going socialist. You know?
Well, that segues into my other question. Basically, it's related to a lot of the videos you make about feminism and
all that bullshit. Yeah.
Or Greta Thunberg, like hopefully that stuff is just going to wither away now, like the silver cloud in the lining.
I don't know. I hope you're right. Well, Greta Thunberg, right? She's getting blown the fuck out because everybody's like saying, "Oh, look, China."
Who?
Greta Thunberg.
Greta who? Who cares?
Yeah. Oh man.
I went into there's this department store in Ireland and UK called Marks and Spencer. And buy last week, and everything was gone: the bread, the milk, the toilet paper, everything. But there was one section that was left. Can you guess what section was left untouched, and all the food was still there?
I don't know what.
The vegan food section.
Yeah, I'm laughing, but I have to say that I like some vegan food. I mean, some of it is pretty tasty, but yeah, I think it's.
In a crisis, you don't give a shit.
No. In a crisis, no. You want, steak and potatoes. Yeah, fuck vegan shit. No, I think that. Look, if everybody suffers enough, okay, if people go through really shitty times, then this self-indulgent narcissistic bullshit that is so much of feminism and SJW culture and all the rest of it, people won't have the patience for it. People will be like, fuck you, especially when people start losing family members and people they love, because that will happen, and that is going to be a tragedy. See, it's all good and fine to be like, oh, like microaggressions and shit like that. But then, if you watch as your grandmother dies, or your mother or your sister dies, you're going to be like, fuck microaggressions. I don't give a shit.
It's interesting that you say that because, well, it's something a bit more about. But I was talking to a funeral director guy and a gravedigger, and they've actually planned for, you know, put the person in the grave, no funeral, 200 quid, that's it.
Jesus.
Which is a big deal in Ireland because funerals are a big deal in Ireland.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're
Finnegan's
actually
Wake and
thinking
all that. Yeah.
people are going to die, like,
Yeah.
and they won't have time for funerals, and you can't have a mass because it's a mass gathering of people in the church. So
Jesus.
it sounds sick, but
No, no. Well, it's the practical problems that we're having.
yeah,
Look, I think that this thing. Okay, it's certainly a tragedy to people who will suffer losses, because sometimes what happens in my own case, I get a little bit wrapped up in the excitement of the moment, because it is exciting. It's a radical change. At the same time, I have to, like, whoa, 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 Nelly, like, people are going to die here, okay? And you got to keep that in mind, and be very, very thankful that you're alive and that you are observing what's going on. Dude, this is like once in God knows how many decades, man. Once, not once in a lifetime, once in like 5 lifetimes. What's going on? Okay, this is unbelievable. It's unprecedented. Okay, this isn't like some political crisis or some shit. It's not like a political squabble. This is massive. And if things go south with this shit, we could see deaths unprecedented since the fucking Black Plague. And I'll tell you something else, by the way, to go on this rabbit hole here. Not rabbit hole, but this tangent. Africa. Africa.
oh Jesus. Yeah.
Holy
Oh,
fucking
I have to tell you
shit.
about Africa. My friend, he was due to go to South Africa next week. His flight is being delayed, and they have put up a massive quarantine in South Africa because South Africa has 6 million, at least 6 million people with HIV.
Yeah.
They'll all die if the COVID gets in there.
Yeah.
So they're shitting a brick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shitting
Yeah.
a brick.
No, it's going to be catastrophic, Their medical system, it'll collapse. It's already like semi-collapsed, right? Jesus Christ, it's going to be horrifying. So yeah, Seamus, it's great talking to you. You're in Ireland. Where are you in Ireland?
I live in Limerick, in Ireland.
Oh yeah. How's the immigrant situation in Ireland?
Oh, like it's the same sort of thing. Most of the people that were infected, they were in skiing trips to Italy. So a lot of people are really angry that the government didn't react, orders and stopping the skiing trips. But then there was this kind of selfishness, this kind of, like what we're talking about, the younger people, they just haven't a clue. Like they just go, well, I'm going on my skiing trip, and
yeah, spoiled brats.
Yeah, really bad, really bad. Like I know of a person, a professional guy, and he's just come back from Italy, and he has tested positive, but he's symptom free. But everyone in the office has to get tested now. So
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Damn.
Like, he didn't care. Like there's a case of a doctor that went on a skiing trip with his family, and he was a family doctor, and he came back. He asked the government, "What do I do?" They said, "Oh, don't worry. Do you have any symptoms?" And they're like, "No, he was asymptomatic." He went back to work.
Oh God.
He tested positive, and all the people that they just freaked out. He was a family doctor, and he went back to work.
But I just want to point out, well, a family doctor and he goes back to work, that's a disaster. But I just want to point out something, a lot of people are like treating like, oh, he's positive for coronavirus, as if it's like, oh, he's positive for HIV. It's not lethal. There are a very small minority of people who will die, okay? But
if you have a comorbidity, basically, and you're over 80.
Yeah. But like 80% of cases, they'll be fine. Okay, so keep that in mind to everybody. Okay, guys, I'm gonna call it a night. I've gone 3.5 hours, and I'm kind of like beat. So if you don't mind, guys in the Hangout, I'm shutting it down. Sorry, sorry if I didn't get to you, but I'm like, I'm out of gas. Yeah, and I just want to give you a couple of words to everybody here. Like I said at the beginning, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Okay? Don't freak out about what you can't control. Okay? Focus on those things that you can control. At this time, think of this as a train arriving at a new station. It can go anywhere. So don't lock yourself in any direction. Keep your options open. Keep your eyes open. Read as much as you can to understand what's going on. Okay? I'll be doing another one of these in a short term, just to sort of like catch up and see where we're at. Okay? Probably like 10 days or 2 weeks or something like that. Okay, but it'll be in relatively short order because this is an exciting time. Okay, no question about it. Keep your eyes open and don't look at mainstream media so much. Just like get a light dusting of that shit, but pay attention to the Twitter feeds, join as many or follow as many people as possible just to get a sense of what's going on. Listen to people who you disagree with, who are totally on the opposite side of you and whatever, okay? Because information will come your way. You want to get a sense of it, even from people you despise. Because even a guy that you think is a complete asshole and whom you despise might have something interesting to say or a bit of information that's useful, okay? So listen to everybody. Keep your eyes open, your ears open, your mouth shut, okay? Don't do anything rash, okay? That's the key issue. Don't bet the ranch because somebody told you that this might be a good idea. No, don't be dumb, okay? Be smart, okay? Okay, so I'm going to leave you, shitheads. Be good. Thank you so much, and I mean this sincerely. Thank you so much for supporting me. And yeah, take it easy, guys, and I will see you next time.